Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is Cee, certified brewhead.
And I am Nathan from NathanDoesBeer.
Welcome to episode 145 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast, Adjunct series. Nathaniel, this is a super special episode. I mean, I feel like every episode's super special, but this one is with a brewery we haven't had on in 5.5 years. I think we had another brewery on recently that was like 5 years between convos, which is not optimal. It's not something we like to do. And this brewery is super special to us both. They were one of the first Ontario breweries that both of us independently drank. Is that fair to say?
Definitely.
They've been around for a long time. They've made a huge impact on the scene here in Ontario with everything that they're doing, and they've just continued even from that 5.5 years ago. It was like January 2018. Just the tweaks, the improvements in everything from the products to branding to the offerings at the brewery. Like, it's wild, man. It's just so cool. And these guys were, as you could probably start to guess, these guys were our first ever canned excuse me, I had some hot sauce for dinner. I'm coughing shit up. First ever canned collab, which obviously was super special for us. It's going to be wild. The last pod we did was one of the wildest pods I think we've ever done. It was bonkers. I'm hoping tonight is a bit of the same. So gonna need to sleep in tomorrow, folks. So guys, please welcome. Let me unmute here. Brenden, Jimbo, and Sam from Sawdust City in the building. Brought the crowd for you boys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Fucking amazing. Welcome back. Very good to have you guys. I apologize that it was so long between pods. It's pretty obscene. But it won't happen again. It won't happen again, Sam. Okay? I promise. So, let's get a beer going, and then we're going to catch back up, because if you want to listen to the Sawdust City story, we won't really be getting into that tonight. We're going to talk about basically the last 5 years. Check it. I think it was episode, if my memory serves, was episode 73 of the original series. I hope that's right. Go check it out. You'll be able to find it easy everywhere. Listen to that. Have a laugh, because we got rowdy. It was ridiculous. It was like 30 people in that room. Everyone's yelling and stuff. It's just fucking wild. Good times. Now it is the second last day of September, so we're now we're in fall. So we're going to kick it off with probably the most appropriate beer we could possibly do that with. Tell us what we're doing, boys.
We got Sägemehl Stadt, which is our Oktoberfest Marzen lager.
Yes.
We've been brewing this on and off for I think 7 or 8 years. The term Sägemehl Stadt means, it's a rough translation of Sawdust City in German, but it more closely comes to Sawmill City, but whatever. So we've had that on, we put the kind of like a contest out to our customers to name the beer, because we just didn't have one. And that's what came back. So
that's dope.
We decided we'll never do that again, but we're okay with it. It's kind of grown on us over the 7 years that we've owned it. The beer itself is kind of like tweak it every now and again. It's never exactly the same. This year's version is an all Ontario version. So the malt comes from a maltery near Renfrew, Ontario, called Mill Ridge Malt, and the hops come from Backroads Hop Farm, which is out near London, Ontario.
Oh yeah.
The guys that run the Backroads Hop Farm also have this really cool shop in London. It's Brews and Shoes. So they have like a high-end running shop that they sell these like running shoes, and they run running clubs out of it. But in the back, there's like a beer bar, and so every couple of times a week they run these beer clubs, running clubs, and then they come back and they crush pints. It's all craft beer. A lot of it's beer made with their hops. It's a fucking great idea. Like, I went and did a run. I wasn't expecting anything. And there was like 70 people there. Like, and they're all kind of like in that young 20s to mid 30s. They just have time on their hands, so they run and drink. And I'm like, this is amazing. I love that this exists. So it's perfect. It's a great marriage
amazing.
of ideas that I think it was just in there.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love those run clubs. I feel like they're more and more common. So it's like, earn your beer type thing. This smells incredible. I want to get this in me, boys.
Yeah, let's do
Cheers.
it. Cheers.
Get that in you.
Cheers.
Wicked nose. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites we have on tap right now.
Oh yeah.
It's really good.
Oh, just toasty caramel. Nice grassy bitterness in there. Super balanced.
A little bit of bread note too.
Yeah.
Undertone of like toasted bread, little rye.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, a bit of that rye, kind of peppery. That's what I'm getting. Yeah. And it's got the cascade from that backwards hops. Okay.
And quite a dry finish. I find too, which is quite nice.
And it's 5.7.
Approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year we had a much lower ABV. This year I wanted to push it up to more of like the traditional higher end, but still keep it drinkable. Like it's kind of an in between Martzen / New World Fest beer, because like the Fest beers that you find at Oktoberfest now are not Martzens anymore. They're more just like a heavier Pilsner / Helles, like a lighter body beer, but just more elevated alcohol without that breadiness. But I still enjoy that breadiness. I think it's the perfect fall accompaniment. So like, it kind of has a foot in both worlds, and I really like the Cascade that grows in Ontario. It's not like Northwest U.S. Cascade that's all grapefruit and kind of pithy. It's more peppery, more old world. And I think, if they keep growing the hops and not trying to make it like the Northwest, I think that's a good thing, so that they can develop their own. Ontario Cascade has its own profile, and it can be used in a different way. And it doesn't have to be used in the way that the American one is. So It works great with lagers.
Hell yeah. That makes sense, and it's even better, I guess, because then you get that relationship directly with someone relatively local, and you're supporting Ontario, which is, I guess, in this economy, it's super important.
It is, because if these guys they're small operations, and if we don't buy them, who the hell is? So, I mean, they got to grow the way that we grew 20 years ago as craft breweries. Like, you need support and a system to use your products and grow up and get better and make more options for us. And we've been trying to support Ontario for a long time. We used a lot of barn owl malt. We've used different hop farms for wet hops, for other projects. And they come and they go, and we like, these guys are great. And the dudes at Backroads, I just love that Brews and Shoes. Like, it's fantastic. And hopefully we'll be working with them more.
That's wicked, man. Go on, man.
I just want to get back out there again. We sent them some beer, and they have it on tap out there. London's a far away, but hopefully we'll get out there again this year and visit that end of the province. It's always good to get out there and see those guys, see Milos, see the scene out there, like the guys over at
like Stormstade.
Yeah, like all the places that what is it?
Anderson.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'd do. I popped in there this summer. Just awesome guys. Gavin's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, Gavin's a man.
Oh yeah, Gavin's a man.
Great. Pete's great.
What is, sir?
Yeah. Pardon me? Oh, Pete's one of the brewers. Remember Jimbo? He used to work in Muskoka. He lived down the street here.
Yeah.
Pete's out at Anderson now.
Yeah, he's a beauty. I think that other guy who used to work in Muskoka's there too. I forget his name now.
I love this.
He's the guy?
No. Damn. He had a beard.
What? A brewer with a beard?
Yeah, you don't have a beard? What?
I can't remember his name now. There's two of them there from Muskoka.
That's the best descriptor of somebody involved in craft beer. That's great, Jimbo. That's sick though. It's cool that good people are moving around. I was just looking at the Untapped of this, and I had this for the first time in October 2016. So I guess that's
Holy shit! It has been at least 7 years.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. That it's
like
been around that long.
It doesn't look anything like. I mean, the beer itself has changed as well, but like our branding obviously has changed. I think we moved it more into the more closely resembling a traditional sort of blue and white Munich color code Oktoberfest. It didn't look anything like any of our other beers that black and silver can. I don't know what that was, but back then we were just like nothing was really. It wasn't one whole. It was just kind of like different things. And now in the last couple of years, we brought them kind of into one. They all kind of like, I'm looking at the back of them and they're all exactly the same. Like our production team has done a great job bringing them together and making it look like they're all from one place as opposed to a bunch of random breweries.
Which is sick. No, that's something I definitely want to touch on tonight. The branding update is fire. I just feel like you guys were always doing crispies since the beginning, yeah?
Yeah. Loyal Norway was our first lager, but we've been doing. That was the second year we were here, so that was 9 years ago. And we've been. I mean, we did a shit ton of lagers last year. Like I think maybe we're a few too many. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, Sam,
we like to do it.
that?
We had time. Like it's fun for us to do it too.
Hey Sam, when did you guys start doing those lager series? Like how many years ago was that?
It was the first year of the pandemic, so 2019,
Yeah. Oh, okay, so
because like we were just about to release them, and then there was a pandemic, so that kind of like fucked it up.
Yeah. Was that the series that the one you were talking about, Brendan? Was that the series where all the brewers kind of get to come up with their own lager?
Yeah. So it's 4 lagers, I believe. Sam does one of them, and then the brewers at the time do them, and it just gives us an opportunity to express some creativity and come up with some fun stuff. And I believe this year Sam had the idea of just collabing with different breweries for each one, which was, I believe, a different direction for that. Yeah. So that made it even funner than. Yeah. I imagine. I wasn't here for the times before, but it was a good time for me for sure to see all those guys and brew all those different beers. So
that's dope. And they come to you to do all the collabs?
Yeah. For our lager series this year, everybody came to us.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's dope.
It was great to work with some people we didn't really know either, like the guys out at Square Brewing, way out in Goderich. Like, John did that one, and he. And Brendan over at Aveling, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
the Calabeer.
That's how we got back in touch again. That whole like.
It was.
We were there. Brandon was there, and it was like, shit. It's been way too long, man. Like.
Yeah, Brad was so psyched to see you guys. He was like, "Man, we just like," I'm like, "Yo!" Like he said, you guys are all like super good energy and stuff. He goes, "Man, we should get it in there again." So, it was cool, man. It was that was a nice little coincidence, and Brad got me a can of that beer, I think, originally, and it was fantastic. It was the Keller beer. Am I remembering right?
Yeah, that was Keller beer with Aveling.
Yeah, the Aveling one. Yeah, exactly. So they came to the brewery to do it as well.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Yep. Nice. Brendan's a good cat, man. Knows his stuff. He studied in Germany.
Yeah. Hey, he's really good.
We tried to do a Bonspiel as well, so they came up for that. So all the collabing breweries came up, and we did like a fun spiel.
What's that?
Like a curling
Okay.
And we had a day where we had all the breweries come up. And we had some people from the town and other people that didn't know how to curl just come out, drink beer, try the beer, and curl. Because we share a parking lot with the
curling fuzzy for me. Yeah. But I remember.
It was a lot of fun.
That's very Canadian.
That's so Canadian.
It was a great event.
Yeah, that's fun. Curling's hard. Like, people make fun of it, but like, to keep that balance when you got the slidey shoe and then the grippy shoe and then you got the fucking broom guy, like, it's a lot.
We were terrible.
Double grip. Yeah, we're terrible. Double grip.
Yeah, you gotta double fist that for sure. It's tough. It almost like, I wonder if like if you're a good ice skater, like if that will like help you. I just don't know if that skill set even like, it's totally different, right? Because you gotta like keep balance while not falling on your face. Yeah.
Oh no.
Do you know it's like?
He's a good hockey player.
It was the best part was that everyone was sort of on the same skill level, so we all sucked. So it just made it fun.
So it made it a bit better.
That's just fun then.
Yeah, that's a good time.
We had the GLB guys up, paddling. We had Second Wedge. Guys from Gateway City came up. Square Brewing couldn't make it. It's pretty far, and he's like pretty much a one-man operation. He's 400 kilometers on the other side of the province, so we totally understood.
Anyone out there, visit Godrich. Go see him. Square Brewing.
Yeah.
What town?
Spot. It's a lovely
Godrich.
town too. Like,
Godrich is the town.
Yeah, Godrich, Ontario.
Okay, I gotta check for that. Western Ontario, I imagine.
If you're way over there, like it's the armpit of Ontario, and there's nothing after it, but it's beautiful. And there's also like, I want to say Bayview. Is that the next town over?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's super beautiful too. Like it's just worth going up there for a couple of days.
There too, with Grey Matter, Blythe. You can go to Cowbell. There's a nice little breweries there.
Right. That's awesome, man. I really like that you guys doing that. I really enjoyed that series, and I found that I think I got all of the 4 lagers last year. They were just so fun, and I just feel like you're like, and this is kind of maybe tying back to where I want to start off. I just feel like everything about, because we've got to follow your journey, like you were saying earlier. Nate and I were, drinking you guys back in. When did you open? Was it 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2011. Okay. So, like, we've been following Sawdust since essentially the beginning as, drinkers learning about craft beer. You guys were, when there wasn't that many Ontario breweries that you could kind of have regular access to at, say, the LCBO before, doing a brewery trip was kind of like a thing, as opposed to just like, let's just go to a brewery. Like, now it's whatever. Back then it was a whole thing. Like, it was a fun, big, like, let's go to a brewery, So you guys were one that was easy to access. Alongside maybe half a dozen at most other locals. So seeing that, and then even in 2016, you guys did what I thought was the first New England IPA with juicing in the province. We can talk about that soon as well. And then coming into 2018, since we had the last convo, I know like you said, you've always kind of done the crispies, but I just kind of feel like since then, like, everything that you guys are doing, from the branding, the crispies, the IPAs, is just like the improvement is crazy. And things were already great, and I just felt like you've just done these like tweak everything nonstop. I don't know if you guys could speak to that sort of like, did anything happen, or was that just kind of a natural thing? Different people coming in, and if there's a new face, I'm like, hey, why don't we try this and that? And it's just making things better, bringing mind sharing, bringing in different backgrounds and experience,
It's both of those things. It's like James has been around since I think the second year we opened, so he's been around the whole time, and I've been around the whole time. But we've also there's been a solid core of people, which allowed us to, that gives us the ability to tweak stuff because we're so familiar with it. But then we have guys like Brendan just came in about a year and a half ago, and we get new voices and new people coming in, bringing in new blood and ideas, so that allows us to go in different directions as well. So it's both of those things. And marketing wise, in terms of our branding, we've definitely had a bunch of different people and a bunch of different influences, but the last 2 artists have really driven us in the direction that we went. First Sandy, who was fantastic, who was the first one who sort of brought it under one umbrella. And then now Dana, who's sort of keeping that going and adding her touch to it. So it's partly having the same crew, but also adding those new people. And that's what craft beer is. Like, it's a migratory business. Nobody really stays around too long. It's like we're all the fucking littlest hobo. We just keep moving around from town to town, saving people, and we just hop a train and go to the next one, and then start a new life.
Gypsy Brewers.
Gypsy Brewing. No, that makes sense. That you've had to. It is really important, I guess, to have the team. But then sometimes what I was kind of getting at was, if you've got the same people, often it's kind of, you might get into a groove, and you just, we do it this way because this is how we've always done it, and you don't always, think to change it. And I feel like with you guys, like I said to you guys when we came and did the collab, like I feel like you cracked the code with Haze, and we've said that here a bunch as well. Like, it was already great when we did the first one, but there was something that happened. I think it could have been what you were saying before, Sam, when you had more time over the pandemic with Everyday Magic and the Binary System series that were just like they had no, like, there was no New England IPA, I want to say, like, in the LCBO. Nothing was coming close. It was ridiculous that you'd be able to get a beer that good for that price at that store. It's insane. So like it's so impressive to see those changes and just sort of like I imagine all the improvements a series of 1% tweaks. So the body was crazy and maybe the dry hopping rate was wild and blah blah blah. Yeah, it's even more impressive actually than if you've got mostly the same squad. That's kind of like take it forward.
I know that we always are constantly drinking other people's beer and we're paying attention to what's going on. And we know how great the scene is in Ontario. So, we feel a certain amount of pride that we want to keep ourselves on the level with the breweries that we consider to be good. So in order to do that, we have to continuously improve because they're continuously improving. It's a great environment to be in because competition drives other people. And if we don't continuously improve and change our beers to match that level of improvement, then we're just, what's the fucking point? So, and it's great having a team as good as we have, who are all on the same page and willing to make those changes, and technically are fantastic. Like, we have a very small team. The amount of work that we get done with the amount of people we have is incredible, in my opinion. I've got a bigger brewery that have way more, or smaller breweries that have more people than we do, and we are able to get a lot done with a very little amount of workers that are just pouring their heart into it. So it's we take a lot of pride in that.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think your team is so productive and efficient?
Well, we've designed our brewery to be there. Like, we don't want to be there all day. Like, it's not like we all want to have our lives too, right? Like, so we design it to be that way. Like, it shouldn't take this long to do that thing. And we're like, if it does, then we're like, okay, this is fucked. How do we make it better? So it's not just from a standpoint of making the beer itself better, but how do we make it more efficient? How do we make it take less time? And how do we get more out of it? So there's those tweaks as well, which don't really show up in the customer-facing way, but it definitely shows up in our day-to-day, like, enjoyment of life and productivity. Like, I want to go home now. Like, this is how it works. And like at the beginning, you're always learning curve on a new brew house, but we've now done 2,500 brews on that brew house. We better goddamn well know what's going to happen than every time that a beer goes through there. Right. Every once in a while, we'll have a hiccup, but that happens anywhere. But for the most part, a day goes the way a day's supposed to go most of the time. And, that Rob's always been great buying us new equipment and keeping us on the technology edge of what's important to be at. Like, we have a centrifuge. Okay, we got that. We have a new canning line. Let's get that. Let's get all the things that make our life easier and make us more productive and more efficient and allow us to be more creative, because now we can play with these things and grow that way as well.
I feel like work-life balance is not something that you typically hear a whole lot about in the brewing world. That's pretty cool that you've managed to work that into your brewery's environment. It's it's a bit of a refreshing take, and to then also have to have that energy towards prioritizing that. It's evident that also translates into the improvement of your processes in your beers as well, for everything that Cee was just saying before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. It's awesome. And even just, I'm gonna make a little quick shout out, something small, like Sam was saying. You could tell the brewery was designed by a brewer.
Yeah.
You can go in other breweries and you can see certain valves in places or weird things, or like, why is that resurg valve like that? And even a small thing is like the height of our catwalks. You can tell from our restaurant, if you're looking at our brew house, you'll see our catwalks are about as high that you can walk right under it. That's a feature that not a lot of breweries have. So all those, it's a minor thing, but when you look at it from a brewer's eye, you definitely can tell it was made by somebody that knew what they were doing.
And that big kettle, we have like a large kettle in our brew house, so that really saves us. So we're not having to brew repeatedly over and over, because like each brew takes like 5 hours. So if we have a little bit bigger of a kettle and we can do 2 brews instead of 3,
well, even the whirlpool, right? Like the 4-vessel system is incredible. You know, like that allows us to pump out, like doubles for us aren't as Sam was saying. You're talking work-life balance. Like we'll pump out doubles with our small crew and still all of us out on efficient time and manner. You know, like it's not a strain on any of us because the system is developed to allow us to do so. You know, and allow us to replicate it continuously as well. So it's a good place to work.
Yeah.
That's dope. So, like, all of it, this is fascinating because I feel like we've never, ever talked about this sort of stuff ever before. And so, essentially, what I'm hearing is that, like, the way that the company treats the employees as far as the work-life balance, as well as the way that the actual workplace is designed for, like, maximum efficiency, that results in higher quality end product.
Yeah.
For sure. And happier people.
Yeah, and we're just happy. It's amazing.
Which then makes you more creative, maybe, as well.
And also just care, too.
Last year we added a canning line, which was, I feel like the single most important thing that we've added in the last 5 years. Our other canning line was at the end of its life. And, I mean, it didn't know us anything. We had pumped like 8 million cans through that son of a bitch. But it was to the point where we didn't know what was going to happen on a day-to-day basis. Like you could be there for 2 hours or you could be there for 8 and it would do exactly the same thing. And that doesn't, that when you come into work, your back is already up because you're like, what is going to happen today? And you don't want that. You want to come into work going, I know I'm leaving at 3 p.m. today. And then you can set the rest of your day up because there are people outside of the work that depend on you, that you're going to be somewhere. You have other priorities in your life. You have commitments that you have. If you don't know that you're going to leave at a certain time, you can't make those commitments. And that's frustrating for anybody. But this new canning line, it's like, do it, done, finished. And it's better, it's quicker. We can do twice as much in half as much time with half as many people.
Wow.
And it's like, well, why did we wait so long?
Probably the price tag on that. I saw that as the beast.
Oh, yeah.
It is massive. And the centrifuge you're showing me too, obviously. All these improvements, not cheap, but it sounds like very worthy investments that are paying off in more ways than just financial.
For sure. And I think it shows like James has been there the longest. He knows what it's been like, what we've gone through, and the long days.
Yeah, man, I remember filtering Norway, like back in the day, through like a lenticular filter. You guys may not know what a lenticular filter is. It's just like an oil filter, like for your vehicle, sort of like that. Anyways, and like, comparing that to the centrifuge is like, I don't know. You can't even compare them. They're so different. Like,
well, you have to change, like, even like where I was using a plate and frame filter.
Oh, yeah.
So like using a plate and frame filter, you got 40 pads, you run 10 hex through, it stops, stop. You max out you're pissing CO2 out of every inlet. You got to change your pads, flush everything. You're there all day, gets jammed again. The fuel, like we run even the way we run the fuge, like through cast out. That's like, we utilize that thing. We use it every day. Yeah. And I think I would say it's well worth its weight.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
The other benefit with all of us is that we've all worked at other places and we've all taken the knowledge. And usually it's what didn't work at the place you used to work. So whatever you do to not do that.
Yeah.
And James used to work in Muskoka. Brendan was at Stack. I was at Mill Street and Robert Simpson. So we've had these experiences, and all those places are great. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but okay, I didn't like that about that place, so I'll never ever work on a DE filter as long as I live for the rest of my life. I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah. So there's a centrifuge, and it's like, okay, this is pretty much that as far as like where we are in terms of like our size. This is about as good as it's gonna get. So here we go, and it's repeatable, and it makes our life easy. Science, do your thing. Fuck the hard work and bad air quality and all the that goes along with the old filtering systems. Like,
are you fucking kidding me? That bag filter's better than the fucking plating frame I had. I would have just bought a fucking bag filter. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's crazy. I love that whole concept. I just did this podcast with this dude from Texas who used to own a brewery, and then he sold it, and he started a podcast called How Not to Start a Damn Brewery, and he's trying to interview breweries who failed.
I've seen it.
Yeah, Kelly, he's a champion. And this is so smart because he's interviewing breweries that failed, and then he wants to get to 100 episodes, but he gets a lot of no's because not everyone wants to share. They maybe feel embarrassed or whatever about the brewery failing, and he's not trying to embarrass anyone. He's trying to extrapolate the reasons for the failure, because he's like, there's maybe like 4 ways that you can succeed when you look at success, but there's hundreds of ways you can fail. And he said he's going to compile all of the data, and then write a book based on the podcast answers that he gets. And it's genius because it's exactly what you're saying. You're taking the failures from other places. You can call it a failure or just maybe things that weren't super efficient, whatever, same concept. And then applying that to, as opposed to, hey, this really worked. It's almost like, well, what didn't work is arguably more important than what actually did work. So that's sick. And that you guys are doing that in real time and seeing the results. Fucking amazing.
Well, with COVID, he'll hit 100 episodes pretty quickly. Like it's sad to see, I don't mean that as a joke. Like it's sad to see how many places are, people were relying on this summer to be the big summer, the one out of it, and there's a lot of places realizing now that, it wasn't quite the boom that we expected after everything that we went through, and you're going to see a lot of places starting to shut their doors, unfortunately. And, I wouldn't even consider that a failure. That's just time and place, product of environment, like that's,
that's
at
a
the
good
end
point.
of the day, like your wallet's only so deep, so.
There's definitely
failure is the best way to learn, and whether or not timing is I mean, that's something you don't really have control over, but it is also like you can choose not to do something just because you really, really want to do something. You have to look at the environment that you're opening a brewery right now would just be, to me, bonkers. Like, what are you thinking? Like, this is not a conducive environment to opening a new brewery. So maybe like shelve that idea till the market comes around again, because I don't see how anyone could penetrate this market and somehow get in there and be above somebody else that's already there. Like, what new can you add to this what somebody hasn't already filled? And like, we're all doing so many things that there doesn't seem to be a lot of room for anything else. I don't mean that's not an impossibility. There's always something, but like, it would be very hard.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be like a bubble break? Do you think that's a thing that's going to happen? Like people we can't keep expecting consumers to pay higher costs to offset what we're paying. Like at some point, something's going to fucking collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there might be. I think you're right.
Yeah, like people have been talking about about the bubble burst coming. I feel like that conversation's been going on for at least 3 or 4 years. To some degree, it's hard to say what that actually how that actually manifests. It's like what it looks like to me is that we're kind of seeing a slow. As opposed to a bubble just bursting, like we've just been seeing like a slow trickle over the over the last few years. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're not seeing everyone close their doors at once, but when you see a couple close their doors here, 2 or 3 months later, a couple other ones close their doors. You see an acquisition here, you see a partnership there, all of these things that keep kind of slowly happening over the years, and it piles up quite a bit. Would you agree with that, or do you see, or do you kind of see it a bit differently?
I'm with you completely. The amalgamation of breweries has been happening. I think will continue to happen. Instead of just closing, they'll join forces and become like an entity over here, which makes sense.
Yeah.
You get buying power or whatever. You'll see the smaller places that can't afford these economies of scale. Those are the ones that are going to be the ones that suffer the most. It's the ones on the other end, the ones that are so big, like the BAOS that were this monolith that couldn't shift when when there was no licensee sales and they were so licensee heavy and they couldn't do anything about it, what was that? They were so dependent on one thing. Like, there's people in the middle. Like, we were just happened to be of a certain size, and we were able to be nimble and sort of shift our focus without it being catastrophic. And we were able to go, okay, we're going to focus more here. And we were kind of already doing that anyways. We've never been trying to take over the world. We're just trying to be happy and make a nice living. And I think that's...
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, even like, we saw like Boncat obviously was the big one that everyone was super sad about. And that one was a simpler answer. It was a lease thing, really. The rent was going to go up too much, and to the point where it made it redundant, and moving would be the same cost as starting a brand new brewery. So they were like, let's call it a day. So that's super sad. And I don't even know if that's much of a symptom of the market and all the other factors that we've been talking about, as opposed to just like, same as anything. It's why people were sleeping in tents in parks and shit. Like the rent's going up. So,
And I don't mean to say, I'm not saying anything bad about Boncat, but that's like one of the things that we looked at too when we started this was we did not want to be leasing anything because we didn't want to be beholden to anybody else. Yeah. So Rob owns this building. I mean, that was, we were in a position that Rob was able to do that. But that means when this type of shit happens, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect us the way it would be somebody else who's beholden to a leasehold. And that was always, we looked at other breweries that we had seen that as being one of the failures. And we're like, don't do that. Like, because in the end, I mean, he still owns the building. Worst case scenario, he owns real estate, which is never a bad thing to have. And he's that's his. He recognized that from the start. So it does take some pressure, but it also has other things like our roof might as well be Swiss cheese at this point. So now we have to pay to improve the roof. So right. There are downsides, but like we're never at the the whim of some guy who could be like, well, I'm just going to double your lease now because the lease was until now, and bam, now you're fucked.
Yeah.
And you have to close, and then that's that.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He'll get someone else to pay it. What does it matter to him what's in that space?
And don't they get like tax? Isn't there like some, because there's so much commercial real estate that's sitting empty, and I've heard word, and this might have been in Quebec, but like I've heard that there's almost like tax breaks for empty like commercial real estate, as opposed to like you need to fill it, so they're just sitting back, maybe taking a tax loss or whatever, and not having to pay tax or whatever. I'm not familiar with it, but that's what I heard. Is that something similar in Ontario?
I don't
know.
No,
sure.
Breweries those tax breaks. What the fuck?
Why are they getting tax breaks?
Yo, I saw a whole thing about that recently. There was this thing on some TV channel. I forgot what it was called, and it was Mandy from Left Field. It was Steve from BAOS, and
TVO.
That's the one. You saw it, right? And they were basically talking about Ontario has like twice as much tax on the beer than say BC. So like they're being strangled in this economy where finally they let independent bottle shops be a thing, and all these other small little like they gave in for these 100-year-old laws. I'm like, okay, now we'll let a fucking cafe sell some beer. They still won't change the tax because I guess they love their sweet tax dollars, but like it's strangling small businesses like this. It's just it's so crazy. There's a lot to go up against, man. It's an interesting time. It feels like on a positive tip, and I feel like we need to get to the next beer, but it's like we just have to ride out. When I say we, I mean it's like the breweries mostly, but I've got to ride this shit out however long this lasts, hopefully not long, and then we should be back in business, and hopefully the government does whatever they can to reduce that burden a little bit and make things a little easier on the companies themselves, because the breweries employ people, and if people aren't employed, then we're in trouble. Like it's like, why would you not make employing people easier? It's so ridiculous to me. Can't stand it.
Ridiculous. Nice beer.
Yeah. What are we cracking next?
We gotta see that smooth segue.
Oh, we're great.
Yeah, that was great. You should. It's like you host a podcast or something, Sam. I'd listen to that. I'd love that.
Smooth segues.
Love that. Oh, this is with Short Finger. Hell yeah! Big ups, Rob.
Oh, nice.
So this one, San Diego Dreamin Dark Session Lager, 3.5%. Keeping in the crispy vibes for right now. I imagine this was part of that series we were talking about earlier.
No, this was just.
Just a fun collab.
This was at the beginning idea to do that was because of Rob, but then I don't know why we moved it. Anyways, we did. I can't remember. Like it probably involved this, but
oh shit.
Rob and I have been doing collabs for a long time. He's awesome, and we've known each other for more than a decade. And
oh yeah,
we love working with him. And in the past, we've done we had gone there a few times and done more of the barrel aged stuff that they're really known for. He actually just released a version of just the other day. He just released it.
Of a collab that you guys did, like a barrel?
Yeah, we've done a couple, and then this is the first time we actually had Rob come up to the brewery. He's got a cottage up in Muskoka, him and his wife. Him and Kat come up, and they're such awesome people, and it was great to host them. And we tried to do Funk Fest this year, and we tried to have like kind of half funk, half clean. So we wanted to have as many lagers as we had funky beers. Didn't quite go off as we hoped. It was still a fun day, but it wasn't quite like the Funk Fest of days before.
Why?
It was still a good time, but we released this beer that day, so we had it. So it was a lager in the Funk Fest, so we had something clean. Basically, we wanted to do something that was really dark, but still sessionable and right in the middle of summer, like middle of July. So like kind of like fuck with people and do something contrarian but it's still very drinkable. I think it's great for 3.5%. I mean, you're not going to.
Yeah, hell yeah, boys. Cheers.
Let's find out.
Get
Cheers.
that in you. Smells great. Wicked nose.
Cheers, brother.
Oh yeah.
Well, coffee
Hell yeah.
shop.
Yeah. Coffee, chocolate, light, but plenty of flavor. I wouldn't guess 3.5 for sure.
That's what's crazy about it. A lot of those light beers, they like I find session IPAs are the worst struggle for that. I wouldn't say the worst for it, but I find a lot of
100%.
session IPAs like lack that kind of bite and just even hop character that like a normal IPA has, and the malt character coming through on this like it's insane actually. Yeah, it drinks like a 5.5. Like it's really nice.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's super biscuity. Has a bit of sweetness to it up front, but again, like the fest beer, the finish is just bone dry, like delightfully. And this one has like a really really nice roasty aspect to it as well. Like as the evenings are getting cooler, this is tasting real nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I'm like, fuck, I want this on my deck so bad. And I was just kind of sitting there, like, watching the leaves fall. I'm like, this would be really good.
No,
Quick shout out to Rob. He rebranded, and this was the first time I seen his new logo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is the first. This is why I didn't even notice this as short finger at first.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
this is the first time I've seen this too.
That's dope.
Yeah, they're always, they always are doing fun things. Rob's a very fun-loving guy. They do some pretty cool stuff at short fingers. We went out there last spring and did they do a punk show with kind of like some breweries there. It was so much fun to get out there and see those guys. Like that's what collabs are, for. Like you were there, Brendan. It was a great little fun event, wasn't it? You and Jordan came. That was fun.
Oh yeah,
your like concert or whatever.
Yeah. That was That was like. I enjoyed myself a little too much. I thought it'd be boring, but Sam took over, so yeah.
You went hard. What's that called again? It's like there's a name for the festival. And it's like big bands and stuff.
Warped Tour back in the day, yeah.
Oh, are you talking about the one at Short Finger though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if it had a name to it.
Because when when we first moved to Hamilton, I had him on the pod, and he was talking about the festival, and the name escapes me, but I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, because we were there. What were we pouring there, Sam? We brought a few beers. I think we brought like 4 beers, but
it was the 4 lagers. It was the 4.
Well, we brought the light beers. We were the only brewery that brought light beers because that's people kept coming up to us because they're like everything out there in the waters is 6.8. You guys got lagers over here. So,
Yeah,
Everything but
people at a concert to drink some lighter pints. So
that's hilarious. Everything but water is 6.8. That's amazing.
Jeffrey might have given me some gummies, so I was kind of like, I couldn't move, so I was like, I'll just hold the floor here. But I know, like
I'm good.
I'll work through.
Gummies are the greatest things on earth. I try not to be high in the pod though, because it gets a bit awkward. But fuck, they're good. Man.
It was a nice little like.
Yeah, it's just nice and clean, and you got. I love that. That's like they got the different. I was about to say ABV. The THC levels is like, you got the 2, 2.5. You got 5. And I think they have the 10s in Canada, like different places. Like we're just in because it's legal in Massachusetts, so we went to Boston and they had like the 20s they sold, but then they divide 10. Was it 20 or was it 10s? But they had like the gummies had like they were like a wine gum with sugar on the outside, but then it had like a line down the middle that you just like tear it if you want to split it. So Tiff and I were just splitting them. It was money, and we there were too much. It was too. Boston was extra sick because we just lit the whole time, and then. We obviously couldn't finish them by the time we went back, so I gave them to a friend in Vermont. But it's like, fuck, good time. Gummies are the best. God damn it.
That should be another podcast you do. You just smoke a bunch of weed with brewers.
Can you imagine? I don't know if I can even fit that in. That would be wild. Unfortunately, I don't actually smoke at all. I only do edible. Smoking makes me sick, but it'd be interesting to do that. Smoking weed with, maybe I could be like a sub series or something. Get high with people instead. I'm gonna think on that. Yeah, I'll let this little marinate a little bit.
Let that marinate.
Yeah, I love that. But this beer is awesome, boys. Like this is great. This is like once again, it's kind of coming back to that. Just the quality of the lagers you guys are doing is just so exceptional. It's phenomenal. And I guess it's like you guys also said before. It's that passion that you all have for the style. Like you guys love the shit. It's like you guys like love everything though, because I feel like Sawdust, you guys have a very interesting positioning because you're doing straight traditional purist styles in like money, like exactly where they need to be. But then you'll do one of the other beers we're gonna have later is just ridiculous. You know, you're making beers that taste like cookies and shit. Like, but they're ridiculous. But they're really refined too. Then you're doing like perfect haze. Then you got like my favorite beer from you guys is Cthulhu. The 9.
That's my mom's favorite.
That's my favorite stout.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's I actually I had one in the fridge. I had it like I think last year, and it was from 2017. So I guess it was a 4 or 5 year old version, and it drank money. And it was in a,
you can hang on to that one.
I knew, and I kept it cold too. I don't always, but. It was great. So it's interesting. You guys just have like a really interesting lineup. I feel like it speaks to everybody, but it's always like you're not scared of ridiculous shit, but you also lean into the pure stuff. Where does that come from? Because I feel like breweries don't always do that. It's usually kind of one or the other.
Well, I'd like to go ahead, Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
No, you go ahead.
Oh yeah, don't let me go. I was just gonna shout out that like Sam, when we do lagers, I think the reason they're so crisp and so good is we give them the time to do that.
Yeah,
a lot of breweries, there's a lot of, I'm not gonna say terrible lagers in Ontario, but like there's some bad ones out there.
Yeah,
and lagers take time. Like our lager series, we brewed in January, they came out in May. Like to have the ability to tank time that and like properly actually store and condition and let these beers clean, because that's the traditional German way to do it.
Ultra premium.
Like so to have the ability and to still on top of that have 18 beers on tap throughout the entirety of that. So to fit in like these are lager tanks and store those are done and still rotate all our main supply LCBO brands and products. Like. The passion has to be there. We're not rushing these lagers because we don't want to drink shitty lagers.
Yeah.
So we're properly conditioning them and doing them the right way. And you can tell, like, even something like this, like I know this one was in tank for quite a while too. So
I like that. Sam, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I just like more to the all the different styles is that I feel like that's just that to me. That's what drew me to craft beer in the first place was the ability to try new things. That for me, I'm definitely like more of a traditionalist. I like old school shit. I went to school in Germany. When I was coming up trying craft beer, it was all the British stuff you could get at the LCBO. So that's where my head's at. But I also loved going to the US when shit was popping off in the early 2000s and trying all that fun stuff. Like it was a wonderful environment to be in. Like everything was happening. So it's like you could do both. And I never understood why more places didn't. Like why don't you just try to do everything? Like it just seemed that's what you should. That's why we're here. The big guys do the one thing. Fuck that. They can do that. We have access to every ingredient that we want. And the internet provides us with all the information we need. And our mouths can go try different types of beer. Like it's all there. So just embrace it.
It's such a simple, awesome way to put it, though. I love that.
That's perfect. Yeah, man, that makes complete sense. I understand that people have like something that they come into beer wanting to do a certain thing, and I respect that too. But it's like, I also think that to your credit, it's hard to do it all well. That's the other thing. I find that like, and maybe I'm generalizing a little bit because I don't think it's always the case, obviously. But if people are a lager brewery, there's a whole bunch. I'm sure you could think of a handful off the top of your head right now in the province alone that really focus mostly on lagers, and they just do a really great job because that's their thing. But they don't do any fun stuff. I mean, people like Godspeed or Tooth and Nail, like they just really on the money with their crispies and a handful of other styles. They don't do anything crazy. I know Maddie at Tooth and Nail fucking hates haze. He's hilarious. And Bim is a little more like, straight up and down with what he likes, and that's okay. And that's their thing. But like, you see like Rorschach, they do wild crazy shit all the time, and it's always super fun and the most absurd things ever. But they also do some,
but also really dope lagers,
barrel-aged stouts, things like that. So you guys are sort of have this really cool, it's like really fun approach to stuff. Like the Viva Puff Stout, for example, is a really great one because like Sam, you were telling me when we were hanging out, like you even emailed them, actually got legal permission to call the beer Viva Puff Stout as opposed to chocolate raspberry vanilla cookie or whatever.
We weren't allowed to call it Viva. We were allowed to use Puff Viva, like we were allowed to imply that it was that without saying specifically Viva Puff. They were cool with us calling it. We called it Viva La Stout, and they're like, "That's fine. We're happy." They sent us the cookies. They just didn't want us to like specifically say.
Did they? I love those cookies. Fuck off.
The best part was the woman that emailed back. When I got the email, because I just sent it to a general mailbox, like info@dare whatever. When I got the response back from the marketing director, she's like, "Oh, and I'm not sure if you remember me, but my name's Emily. I worked at Sawdust when you guys first opened. I was a bartender." I'm like,
no way.
There's no way that's.
We're definitely making that beer now.
Oh,
that's so
my
cool.
God, that is wild.
It really
Dude, that beer is scarily accurate.
Yeah.
Scarily accurate. And what's the ABV? It's like 5, right?
Like, you smell that beer, it smells like you open a fresh pack.
The first one was from a number of years ago, and we had a half a tank of Cthulhu that we weren't going to use. And I had always wanted to do this Viva, so I used that as the base and then worked from there. And then when it turned out like, this is too much like Viva Puff, we're like, this is fucking crazy. So like, we can't sell it at 9% at the LCBO because it's too big. And we wanted to make it more accessible, and so we dropped it to 5 and reworked the recipe to be a more accessible 5% stout, because at 9, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot. You're not going to be able to move volume at 9%. So that's how it started. That first one was like, it was great.
Oh, man, you got to make a small batch of that.
I was going to say, could you do like a brew pub only, like a draft only, or like a small canning run since you've got this beast of a machine now?
Well, I feel like that'll be something that probably will make its way back into the. We like to put stuff on hiatus and bring it back later, because again, the more that you do it later, you'll you'll have more information and you'll be able to do it even better because
good point.
You've done it and you know how to make it better. So the second time, third time, second time's good. I think the third and fourth are always where you really hit it. And we find this with all the stuff that we do because it's not just a recipe thing. It comes down to like, how do you make it good on a production level where it turns out good, it doesn't break our back, and we're able to repeat it. And that takes time. And it's frustrating because going into it, you know that it's going to suck. But you kind of have to just be like, well, it's going to suck until it doesn't. So, fuck.
Give it a crack. Yeah. So how do people sort of respond to that sort of sheer variety of stuff that you guys are doing? I imagine you probably have clientele who are, my guess would be like dedicated to everything. You have the ones that come in and like are down for all the crispies, and you have the ones like, what are the fun stuff? What are those, like, you know, you got all the sour series that you've done with all these like fun sours, excuse me, like things, you know, then you got the crazy stouts or whatever. Like, do people seem to understand? Because obviously also people don't know you guys are in Gravenhurst, so in, you know, Muskoka regions, in, you know, like cottage country, so it's beautiful. And you get a lot of people who maybe are just like beer, and they just go, there's a brewery, cool, and they don't know like how wild beer can get, type of thing. Like, what are the consumers sort of, how do they respond to all of this stuff? Or is it you've been around so long that that's not even a thing?
Well, we have a mug club, a beer club members. We have mug club and beer club, but the beer club are like a mail order group that they get every month. They get a certain number of new beers. And that's, you know, that was the impetus of the 52 in 52 weeks, was we wanted to see what's the stupidest thing you can do, and is that plausible? No, but we did it to see, like, let's see how far you can push it, to see what the boundaries are, and then figure out from there what's the more reasonable thing to do. But those beer club members, they're the ones that are in for everything. They want to try something every month, so they get whatever the releases are, and we send them at the end of the month. They get all 4 releases or 3. We typically 2 to 4 every month. And then you have the people that just walk in, and I love seeing the people that walk in with like a case, and they're just like looking at the window, and they kind of pick one out and they put it in, and then they walk to the other side, and they walk in. It's like shopping, and then they have like all these, and then they'll put it down at retail, and then be like, and you'll see them run back to the fridge and grab another one and stick it in. Like, we want to make it fun, and then you have the draft, and you get the people that get the big wheel, which is like, I think it's like 18 on the big wheel, so they can try 18 different beers. Or you have
you're thinking old school, man. They knocked it down to 12. I remember the paddle. You used to get like 19 or whatever. You can get 18. I have a picture of the paddle.
Oh, really?
Where we'd roll up and they would give you every single one. And then when I started here, I was like, "Can we get the paddle?" They're like, "Oh no, we cut the paddle." Because the wheel you need 2 people, but the paddle you needed 3, which made sense because it's like a shit ton of beer.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's probably annoying.
And for anyone who hasn't been to the brewery, like it really is, like, when you're getting your cans to go, it really is like a shopping experience, exactly as Sam described, because they've got more fridges of to-go cans than I think I've seen at any other brewery. It's like it covers an entire wall of that huge front lobby. So you definitely can like grab a case, and you'll be like walking from one end to the other, just shopping to fill up that case as you go. It's a wild experience.
Very
Again,
cool.
that was a Rob and Carla and the other side of the bit. Like, they were the ones that really wanted to make the retail experience like a comfortable experience. Like, you know, like, it's important because you go to some places and it's like one of those old Coke fridges with 4 different beers in it, and you're kind of looking around like, is that the beer that I'm supposed to buy? Like, is it there? And it doesn't seem why isn't it nicer? Like, why don't the retail's pretty important? It's kind of like that's where your highest margins are. It should be like the most important thing in to this business, and you know, that's what they wanted to focus on. And we had a huge space. Like, it's a Canadian Tire. It was a retail business. Like, the front of the Sawdust, that front area was where all the checkouts used to be. is where we are right now. So like that's what it was. So we were able to move into that space and have that. You know, our first fridge wasn't as big, and it sucked. But like the new one is, we can only really we put two. We can roll whole skids into the back of the fridge, which makes it a lot easier. But it's really only two full skids we can go. The rest of it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. But you know, it does take a lot of work to manage that fridge. But I think it's.
How many SKUs would you have in that fridge at any given time?
Well, like
We've had 24.
Yeah. Okay,
but usually what we're trying to do this year is trying to marry the taps to the fridge. So we're trying to keep it around 18. Like, it kind of sucks when there's stuff in the fridge that you can't try on draft. So like, because like to get that balance between how many kegs we make so that it sells out roughly the same amount of time as it takes to sell the cans. And that's, I mean, it's not, you know, every year we get a little bit better at it, but you know, it's also difficult because the world keeps fucking changing. And like every time we think we know something, the entirety just like it literally just last year doesn't matter anymore because this year shit's happening. So completely new.
Yeah,
I think that's a crazy thing though too. Just to touch on that point, then we can pass on. Like my dad's saying, when he first came to our brewery, before I even worked there, he's like, "Oh, what I love about Sawdust is they have so many beers on tap, and they have." He's like, "If I try it, I could buy it." He's like, "I hate going to a place where they have 3 brand new beers on draft, which is cool. I could try the beer, but he's like, can I buy it? No, like, oh no, that's growler only, or like, you know, that's only a keg, whatever." And he's like, you go to Sawdust, they have all these different varieties, and they have, like, it's massive when you walk in there, you know, like the amount of fridges in retail is just astronomical. But from a consumer standpoint, that's key, right? Because you might not like the generic lager or the hazy or the West Coast. You might like the Viva and something that we might not do all the time. But if we have that available for you, and like Sam was saying, trying to dial that in this year a little bit better. I think we've been good at it as it is, but you know, it could always be better. But it's awesome to be able to try something on draft and say, hey, I like that. I want to grab a 6-pack of that. Because there's nothing worse than finding something you like, going to buy it and realizing you can't. Yeah. And I think that we offer that to people in a way that a lot of breweries don't. So we'll touch on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well said. Yeah, no, you're right. And it's and I'm thinking now, well, after you said that, Nate, like, is there anywhere that has a larger fridge? Like, I can't think of anywhere in the world that I've been who has more beers available in a fridge. And it's yeah, and even just walking into retail, you can tell there's got that, you know, that middle thing where like the little, like a bunch of racks, and it's like a proper display that's been thought about, and things are placed based on the season, and like, you know, there's so many different things that you can get. It's just, it's like it's a separate revenue stream completely that probably has managers and product managers and all that stuff that like you said, tight team, but thoughtful. And I feel like that just really speaks to the brand.
We got a great front of house retail team. Yeah. And you know what? They're some of our longest serving employees. That's now, like, they've been actually there a long time. So they understand Sawdust. They understand like what it's about, and they've helped develop the branding through what they purchase as what they get to showcase what we are. Like, they buy the hats, they buy the shirts, they do all that stuff that people walk out and wear. So that's the billboard that we have. Like, we don't have any money for advertising, so we have to like make sure that what we put people into showcases what we are, and that's, you know, a testament to them and them understanding Sawdust and doing a great job with that and keeping that fresh and clean, because they go through a lot of different merchandise over a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet.
Another shout out to Dana for those. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, quick shout out to Dana for the chalkboards, too, if you ever go in the bar.
Oh, yeah.
She does our cans as well, but the chalkboards for all of our draft, it's something else to look at. It's nice. Like, she nails the logos. Like, the full logo design is on the chalkboard. You can't, like, miss the can, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The Norway one is incredible. It is just the fucking plane is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dana's great. We got to meet her there. She's super cool, super talented lady, doing all this stuff. I love it. It's you guys got a real tight ship going on.
Yeah,
This
this is probably a good like a good cutoff point to get to the next beer, eh?
I was gonna say,
Yeah, sure.
this is like the first of 3 segments of beers. So this is the crispy segment. Now we move on to the, what would you call this one? Like the crazy shit segment.
This is definitely the crazy shit segment. These next 2 beers don't really. I don't like. There's no way to put them into a lineup and ever have them be similar to anything. So just deal with it is what it is. The next one's gonna be fucked.
Just drink it.
There's not like a sensible flow from one beer to either of these beers or from these beers to another style.
Could I? Should I?
They're singularities. They exist on their own.
Do we say that? Should we do the stout first because it kind of like is a little bit of a carryover from the beer we just had, and then we cleanse with the one after that?
That would actually be good because the tartness, I think,
would clash too much.
Yeah, that might mess with the IPAs. That's a good point.
This next one is so unique, and I think, this idea like that James had. Fuck, what was it? Was the second Funk Fest? So
yeah, I don't even know. Years and years ago. But yeah,
it was a germination that took probably 5 or 6 years to get to where it is now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a kind of a hard one because you have to use like weird malt, sort of like non-typical, like base malt kind of thing. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had horchata before in
real life.
Real horchata. It's like a rice milk, like they steep rice. It's like a drink in Mexico. They drink it in the summertime. It's really good. If you ever get a chance to drink horchata, it's amazing. That's why I wanted to make this. This guy who used to work at the brewery, Cal, would make horchata, and it was so good. Yeah, they steep like rice in water, and it becomes like this sort of like milk, and they add cinnamon to it and like a hot pepper or something.
Cool.
And yeah, you serve it on ice, just drink it in the summertime.
I don't think I have had it.
Buddy, thank you.
So this is like the beer version of that drink, and the other thing, like one of the other components was that the term white stout gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of times it's not a white. It's never actually white. It's like this blonde ale, and you're like, why don't you just fucking call it a blonde ale or something? We wanted it to be like white. Like that's about as white as you can get.
Yeah.
And
what made it wet? Was it just the choice of grains?
Brewer's secret.
There's no barley in it.
Yeah.
It's all spelt oats and wheat.
Okay.
And we mash really high so that it leaves a lot of body still in it, because it's only 3.5% again. I want to keep it on the low low because it's supposed to be a refreshing summer drink. And then we add the cinnamon, which is traditionally how they flavor it, and a little bit of vanilla. And I think, the body, we add lactose as well to give it that kind of creaminess and sweetness. And I find cinnamon makes things chewy and doughy, and it adds that extra bit of like thickness to make it more stouty. And it tastes so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to try it. Boys.
Yeah, cheers.
Let's fucking get it in you.
Yeah.
Fuck, get that in you.
Oh,
the nose is
cinnamon
fascinating.
On the, like it even comes through pretty strongly, even on the nose, right? Like right off the bat.
Oh wow, that just works. It's like I didn't know what to expect. Now, why are you calling it a white milk stout? Doesn't that usually mean when like it's a white stout that means there's coffee in it, or am I?
Well, that's part of the white stout is the blonde coffee thing, but we also thought that the white stout is just a stupid thing, so we kind of but we also didn't know what to call it. Like, what the hell do you call it? Like, this is the closest thing.
I think a white stout is you make something pale that's supposed to taste like a stout. Yeah. So if you want to use coffee, if you want to use chocolate, if you want to
anything that has those elements that you would find in a stout. I don't think there's any clear direction for like
this thing's got a ton of body, so that's
yeah.
It's super unique, and it really works. It's like, how close is this to the actual drink? Would you guys say?
Actually, surprisingly close.
Yeah, there was a guy that just posted on Instagram the other day. A Mexican fellow was like, I had to translate it because it was all in Spanish, but like he gave it a big thumbs up, and he said it tasted like horchata. So I'm like, hey, if the source is saying it's true, then I think we captured it.
That's money.
I'm surprised at how well it came through. Like,
I think there's a touch of brewer's tears in the back there.
Brendan has a story about this batch.
No. It's just because we're using 100% adjuncts, it doesn't lauder as good as other beers
it can
might.
brew terribly.
Right.
So this is an example of taking. It took a number of brews until we finally got it where it was manageable.
It's perfected. It's good. It's good, and it's consistent. As is all of our beers. It's it was
a bit to get there.
one.
Is this like in the? I mean, obviously the label kind of looks like the Viva Puff one. Is this like a sort of a series by any chance of sort of like maybe?
It's not necessarily a series, but this time of year we release a flavored stout. And we've done we did the Viva Puff, and then we did the Aw Caramel, and then we did the Mocha Crunch, which are all Canadian, specifically Canadian confections or chocolate bars. And then this year when we had not done horchata because James has been trying to get this thing made for years, and we finally did it. And it turned out really well, and we had done the Mocha Crunch, and we were going to do that one. And then we're like, you know what? This is selling better. I think it's a better product. So we didn't do the Mocha at the LCBO. We did the horchata.
Okay.
And then, so it kind of fit that. It went into that same world, like that sort of flavored stout world. We just went white instead of black this time.
Gotcha.
And I think it was a great choice because, we do a lot of stouts, and this is it's still a stout, but it's a completely different. It's left field stout, like it's crazy, like, and it was fun working with us, getting it. And the last one, the one that we moved today, that we're packaging on Monday, we finally fucking got it, like from a production point, where it wasn't the worst days of the week to do.
These beers don't cooperate a lot?
Yeah, it's just a tough beer to brew.
Without any barley in it, there's nothing to really create a mash bed, so it doesn't really function the way a normal beer would. And so to make it the way you normally would just doesn't work. So we had to figure out a blend, and I think we finally got it. We had a lot of loss in terms of like efficiency. We had a lot of loss in terms of time. But then finally, after a number of brews, we were able to get it. As long as the product at the end was fine, but those behind-the-scene things that you don't see, it was very satisfying, I think, to make this last one be as flow through as well as it did.
Right.
And I think this beer is going to transition perfectly into Christmas time. Like the fact that it's selling so well now at a time when it's. We released this in summer and it was gangbusters. We're going into spring. It's still selling well. Going into fall and it's still selling well. So this just smells like something I would drink Christmas morning. I would fucking pour one of these like easily.
Yep.
And I think that also defines a good stout. Like people drink stouts in the wintertime. Is this something that I could enjoy on a fucking December day? And when I smell this and I drink it, I feel like I could at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely on aroma. Oh, sorry, Sam.
I was going in a completely different direction. Isn't that the line from the song by the Vampire Weekend? In September, drinking horchata. In September. Anyways, never mind. My mind was going somewhere. Or is it December? It's September or December. And Brendan was talking about it. I'm like, I think that's from the song.
I'm checking right now. in December drinking horchata.
See?
Wow.
See?
That's cool, man.
It's
Look
only
at
gonna
you.
get better. It's only gonna sell better. I'm telling you.
Oh, that's the album's called Horchata, or maybe it's just a song. Oh, it's track 1 on Contra. It's a song. Okay,
It's a great album. I fucking love
Great
it.
album.
I haven't heard them for ages. Good memory. Yeah, sorry, Nate. What were you?
Fucking
No, I was just saying that I was just agreeing there that in aroma alone, I could certainly see like drinking this like in the full on winter, because for me anyways, the smell of the cinnamon automatically makes it feel warm and comforting. It's something that just does that there. But so I would happily drink this on a cold winter day, and it's got the benefit of, again, drinking 3.5%, but you'd never know it, like just on taste alone, because it's like Sam was saying, it's kind of got that like full bodied chewiness to it, that like it feels like you're drinking something that like that's robust. It's got some substance to it. It's like it doesn't feel like you're drinking session beer. Which is again something that would feel warm and comforting in in the winter, to drink something that's a bit chewy, has a bit of body to it, and has that warming cinnamon quality to it. So yeah, it would definitely work for that.
Yeah, it's a good call. Yes, this is some good stuff, boys. I love the innovation in this, and I like that it's great to hear that it's like this was the more popular one. I'm surprised though. I feel like, would you say it was the mocha, like the carrot coffee crisp kind of one,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that did fine, but it was also, again, you know how you were saying you're always doing the same thing, so you might get stuck. You get stuck in that. We felt like we were stuck in that wheel, so we had to pry ourselves out and go in a different direction to keep it fun and exciting. Because if you don't, then you just, okay, we did it. Let's do it again. And well, fuck. Okay, well, this is in that same world, but it's over here. So let's go over here. And it's also it was a challenge for us, and that makes it exciting as well. Like, okay, we're gonna focus on how do we make this work. We got to mash it high. We got to do this. We had to employ all the things that we knew about. But how do you make it all at the same time? And
that's innovation brewing. It's like, fuck it, do it.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome, is to sometimes just say, fuck it, do it.
Yeah. Pull out your bag
and
of tricks
and figure it out. And the end product we were all happy with. Even the first batch. I remember the first batch when it came out. We were like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I looked at you, I was like, yo, this is fucking weird, man. I was like, it's good, but it's weird, and it's you just gotta say fuck it sometimes and do it,
100%.
man.
Yeah, you never know what people are gonna like. I guess that's really what
you really don't.
Yeah.
Have you guys been able to predict it a bit more over the years, do you think, or is it still people surprise you?
I find it even harder now.
Our sales team's having a hard time predicting.
Yeah.
it's difficult because the public is fickle, and everything changes. And everything's so segmented now. You can't really go after the nerds anymore, because there's such a small portion, and if you do, you're just chasing it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So you got to try to fit into the mainstream, but we're not necessarily a mainstream brewery. So how do we do that? How do you keep your feet in both worlds? And so that's part of the reason we have all the varieties, but it is very difficult. But sometimes just taking a shot in the dark, throwing shit in the wall and see what sticks.
That's the only way to roll, I guess, man. And coming even back to what we were saying before, I guess there's a level of expectation from you guys for this kind of fun, weird stuff, and you have a good track record with. When you're saying sticks, I mean, I'm sure you're probably more referring to what works with the public, but you could probably say objectively the things that you're trying actually work as a product. You're like, okay, we achieved the goal of making this Horchata White Milk Stout. It's weird, but it works. Now it's okay, so it's a good, objectively good product, but is there a niche for it? Is there can you position it type of thing? So I guess that's the other side of it. which is
People
interesting.
seem to be, they're responding really well to this, which I think is, it's great. Like, we're seeing it's selling like crazy right now at the LCBO. It just launched, and we're going through flats of it faster than we anticipated.
Love it.
Which again is awesome. And I'm glad that they've at least taken that leap, because it is something new, and the response has been extremely positive in terms of like what we're hearing back from the customers and what we hear at the brewery. And as we do more of it, I think we'll get better, and we'll have it mainstream. And we're kind of like in this world where a brand might only last 2 years. So like it might be this winter, and then next winter, and then move on to something else. Because that's just the way of the world right now. And it'll always be part of our catalog, and we'll bring it back. It might not be LCBO, but it'll be part of Sawdust, and it'll be available at the brewery for online purchase and in-store purchase and on draft and all that stuff. The LCBO is something that we go into with stuff to keep our broader audience happy.
Right.
And I think what both of you said touches on a similar point where, Sam was mentioning we had the coffee crisp come out, and, we had the Viva, and we had the caramel, and we needed to pry away from that. And as you mentioned, the public perceiving us in the way of always having innovation. You don't want to just fall in that of all they do is pastry stouts.
Yeah.
All they do is sours. And I think the direction and the focus being driven towards not doing that allows us to create beers like this. Like this is the byproduct of that mentality.
Yeah.
Because we can't just, as Sam said, run our 2500 brew through that system. There's hundreds of beers in our backlog, that have been tried and have sold well. And as mentioned prior, process changes things too, that we could brew again and brew better and things like that. And I think that's what's important is, our identity is important to us. And I think not having, cause a lot of brands are tied to a style of beer, like we were talking about lagers, shout out Old Flame, that's another one, they only do lagers, that's their thing. And, people execute that well. And I think it's difficult to stand on a pedestal and say, we brew a bunch of styles, but we do them well. Because that's a lot harder than saying, we focus in on one thing, because your process for that one thing is going to be very similar, but your process for all these different style of beers is going to defer. So it creates a challenge in the back, but it also creates an opportunity for, again, beers like this to become present. So it's super cool to actually see things like this come to the market and see people enjoy it too, because that's what brewing's about. We get into craft. I didn't get into craft brewing, like Sam said, to drink Canadian and stuff. I tried new shit and I liked it. And I want to make new shit. And it becomes hard to make new shit at the end of the day. So you kind of just throw something at the wall and see what sticks, like you said. And, I feel like this was a hit for sure.
That's awesome. So I'd be curious then, with all of this talk of all the different stuff that you're doing, what are like the biggest sellers? Like what are the like maybe top 3 or top 5 sort of SKUs? Are they kind of predictable? Like, is it like
right now it's Norway, Lone Pine, and Juicin are obviously our top. Like those are our top 3 biggest sellers. Those are what we make the most of, and those, that's the spectrum of. You got your more mainstream light lager over here. West Coast was what we were sort of brought up on, and now the hazy is where people are. But those it kind of that's sort of like the big 3, and then from there, it's seasonal. Like it changes. We bring a lot of stuff back, so it's like I'm always surprised how fast Q Lager sells. Like it always sells so fast, and I'm like, okay, why does this amber lager sell so fast? But I'm happy that it does. I fucking love that beer. And Old Woody, same thing. Like it's there. It sells well when it's there. But those are those 3 are really the only ones that we do constantly repeatedly. Yeah.
Okay.
We had Golden Beach in there for a long time, and I never understood why that didn't sell as well. Like why it never really found a place, because I fucking love that beer, and it never really found the ground that those other 3 did. Like we had to move it around so many times. But That's just how it goes.
Was it the Pale Ale, right? Golden Beach Pale Ale?
Yeah. It was a session IPA before session IPAs existed.
Yeah.
It was
right.
all those things, and it didn't really have a home. We couldn't call it anything, and it just sort of just kind of got lost. So
I love it in the short cans now.
Yeah.
It's so fucking sick in the short cans now. Throwing that to somebody, there's something satisfying about having a shorty. Because all I drink are tall boys now. Yeah. Everybody just drinks tall boys now. You get a shorty in your hand of something craft, you're like, this is cool now.
Like a big man.
Especially for a nice summer crusher like that, it's perfect.
Oh
yeah. The shorty. Okay, that's a good thing. So was that the first beer you guys ever did in shorties?
Yep. It was also the first beer we ever did. Period.
Okay. That makes sense.
I ever had Sawdust. First Sawdust beer, and it's my favorite beer.
Okay. Why is that? I mean, those reasons. Was that why you chose this beer for the shorties?
We thought about we did the crushers and we did the high ABVs because right after we did the Gold Beach, we did the barrel aged imperial, the barrel aged wee heavy, and
yes.
people still wanted the big beers in the big cans. I thought because it was the high ABV they'd want it in the shorter, but that didn't seem to matter. It was more about the summer crusher and the short can. People want the quick hit. And you're right. It fucking feels great. I don't know. They're not that much smaller, but they feel like this is perfect.
Yeah. There's something about them, eh? It's kind of cool just for the you're right, Brendan. I feel like it's the 90% tall boys, and then whenever you can get your hands on the shorty, you're like, yeah, fuck yeah. And it almost feels like you don't have to think about it as much because say towards the end of the night, you're like, do I want one more? And you look and you got a whole bunch of tall boys, like, oh fuck, I don't know. But if you got a shorty, why not? Exactly. You just fucking get that in you and you don't question it and it's all good. So it's cool to do that. So is that going to be a regular thing with you guys as far as bringing shorties around?
We just submitted our first short can to the LCBO, so it'll be more of a thing that we want to do. Definitely. Now that we have the ability with the new canning line to do it, we dipped our toe in. We figured what works for us, and so that we'll head that way and see where that takes us. And whether the LCBO accepts it or not, there's not a lot of shorties at the LCBO. They still prefer obviously the 473, so it's up to them. They're the gatekeepers at this point.
Yeah, which is for better or worse. Do you guys do much of the independent bottle shops? Like any distro to those stores?
A little bit, but our shtick is also we want people to come up and experience Sawdust. So by selling our stuff that we also sell online that we want people to purchase from, seems like it's difficult. We'd rather people come to us. Not that we don't want to support these bottle shops. It's just we're kind of far flung, so we want people to visit us and get an experience out of it and having that ability to visit the retail store and purchase it. And if they don't, then we can just deliver it to their front door in 2 days. And you're going to get way fresher product from us
than going to a store. That makes sense. Yeah, it's a newer concept, and I feel like that maybe the stores typically tend to because you guys have a really strong LCBO presence, because my guess is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that because of where you're based, you can have a larger impact on the market, at scale by being in LCBOs. So therefore it really benefits the brand. Okay. So then maybe these stores are sort of focused on the smaller breweries, maybe the super hype folks that basically do zero distro and have nothing in the LCBO. So the only place to get them is direct from that brewery, their website, or this store. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's totally hitting the nail on the head. The people that those FOMO beers, I mean, those are that's what those are for. And I totally get that. And, we don't do a lot of that anymore. We make a lot more of it, so it's easier to get.
Right.
We don't do a lot of short run stuff anymore, just because our short run is this size, which to a lot of people is big.
Gotcha.
It's not big in terms of like the big guys, but like in terms of like Ontario craft beer, it's probably a little bit larger. So we've done some, but not a lot.
Gotcha.
I'm glad they're there. I'm glad that they exist and they supporting the small guys. It's awesome that we have the ability to have those in Ontario. Finally.
Yeah, I could see like, because I have a store here in Hamilton called Duran. It's like a cafe that's the owner Chris helped me find neighborhoods when we first moved here. Like I love everything about it. Sick fridge. And when you got, and this is kind of a bit of a segue, you guys did a really fun collab. One of the most like the really thoughtful collab with Third Moon with the basically the black and tan. So the thing you guys did the Balti Porter, they did the double IPA, and I got the double IPA of them. Like, where's Sawdust stuff? Like, where's it at? And if I'm remembering correctly, I believe the owner was like, "Oh, like I'd love to. It's just I guess there's such a strong LCBO presence that I don't think people would want to come here and buy them." But then you guys have I would argue not all of your SKU. You got that big fuck off fridge, with like 8 doors or whatever, 10 doors. So like, my thought on that was like, well, wouldn't it be cool to be able to get the stuff that isn't in the LCBO at these type of stores? Because
that specifically was supposed to be purchased together. I would have loved if he had bought that.
Yeah,
they would have been able to get the whole experience. Like,
yeah, I wanted to try it.
What Defenestrative Egos was like the two labels, or was that one of them? Was what was the combined?
It was Defenestrated Egos and Orchard of Change made. Well, I can't even remember anymore.
I can't remember either.
It was so clever, like combining the words. Like, I don't even know how y'all came up with that.
Orchestrated. Oh, it comes to orchestrated chaos. So
which is crazy. That's crazy.
Orchestrated chaos. That's what it came to.
That's so wild, dude. Like, even just that alone was like just so thoughtful.
Yeah.
And that one made me really, really happy because for me, what that indicated was I've always rated you guys very heavily, and I think there's people who maybe don't know, like, how good you guys are and how, like, they might think, oh, OG Brewery, they're cool. They're out here. They've been consistent over the years. They've contributed to the scene. Cool. But, these younger kids who are out here doing their shit. But I'm like, nah, like, these guys are fucking, like I was saying before, I'm saving all the IPA convos for when we get to them. Like, talking about that type of stuff. You guys should be in a lot of these conversations a lot more, just even just the quality of the crispies and the fun stouts and blah blah blah. So like, to me it made sense to have your the seasonals, the ones that like even like Get It In You and stuff, like that level type of stuff, like at these type of stores, because I feel like that it's not going to be in the LCBO. And whilst they do understand, what I'm saying, like select ones or something like that to sort of like let people know. It's almost like if Third Moon understand how good you guys are, and Third Moon have this reputation, then they're like, people would be, oh, okay, they're not just doing collabs with anybody. They're doing collabs with guys who they feel are on their level with a lot of the stuff. And you see where I'm going with this? And then people can see that, and they see Sawdust in the store on the same shelf next to these other breweries that have all like, crazy hype. And it sort of lets people know, like, yeah, you guys can do great accessible beers that are gateway Kolsch, things like that, like in the LCBO, but you can do some crazy fun stuff with, the hype kids in the same way, and it's just like different things for so many different palettes and situations. That was I was thinking.
I mean, that comes also down to like our sales guys getting out there and going to those.
It's got to be a lot harder.
Yeah. And I feel like we kind of got away from that a little bit over the last couple of years because a lot of our focus has been LCBO, so we haven't been driving to the hot spots anymore, which doesn't play well with the hype crowd, but it speaks more to the broader beer audience.
Right.
And that's sort of where our focus has been. And
it makes more financial sense.
Yeah. And like, we still live in that world where we do the fun things, and we're definitely not hiding about it. Like, we'll let the chips fall where they may, kind of thing. Like, if you want to search it out, it's right there. Whatever. Yeah. It's also like, it's difficult we've had 4 different marketing people in the last 4 years as the pandemic kind of chewed through employees and life takes people in different directions. Like trying to get like a consistent voice has been a little bit difficult over the last couple of years. And
yeah,
that's a difficult thing. Like it is part of the business, and trying to get a pin down on that has been difficult.
That makes a lot of sense, man. It's going to be hard if there's like a consistency there, and like, yeah, I figured there'd be pretty good reasons for why it wasn't particularly a fit. It was just like at the very least that particular collab was like okay, and it's almost like whilst you're not focusing on them, it's almost like just a reminder, like yeah, bitch, we can do this shit. Like, look what we got. You know what I'm saying?
We love those guys are fucking cool too. We love going down there and hanging out with them. Like we had a great day going there, and when we did the Lone Tree Bone Pine, that was super cool too.
Yeah,
like hanging out with them. Like they're
the art on those cans are fucking sick too, man.
Oh, they're fantastic. We a few months ago.
They're dope as fuck.
Yeah.
All right, that was a great.
They're fantastic.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed.
A few months ago, we did a podcast with Jen Tamsey from Beer Town, and it was entirely focused around around that collab series where we got to have Lone Pine, Bone Tree, and then both collabs, the Bone Pine and Lone Tree, and to have all four of those together one after the other, was such a cool experience, and to just be able to gush over over both of those base beers and how they ended up combining together in those those two styles with what you guys created with Third Moon there was that was really dope. And those two right there are examples of the kind of beers that I think Cee's getting at. There are some there are definitely some beers that you guys put out that would certainly fit the mold, and I think those are definitely one of those that would that would certainly be fun to see on some of those shelves.
Exactly.
When you want to talk about like a true collab, like that's one where most collabs are shoot the shit, come up with a recipe, let's have some beers, let's brew whatever. And the collabs are awesome. I'm not downplaying that in any shape or form, but that is Lone Pine's malt build with Lone Tree. I know because there's 4 names, I get all fucked up. So it's like our malt bill with their hops, and then the second one is their malt bill with our hops. So when you think of like collaborations, instead of just shooting the shit and like, hey, let's brew this beer, let's have fun and do this. Like, no, let's collab both of our brands as well and create a brand new product off of the branding, which is like, when you think of terms of collaboration, that's a whole new level, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest part about that whole collab was that it was initiated by Terry and Emma, who are like these really big beer nerds. So it also brought in the aspect of the consumer contributing to this collaboration. And, they've been big supporters of both of our breweries, and to be able to give them that experience, to have that and be a part of it, I found to be was the most rewarding part of that collaboration, because they're lovely people, and I love that they were able to be a part of it. And that opened up a whole new portion of that collaboration idea as well.
Very sick, man.
That's really cool.
I love it. It's genius. Shall we do next one?
Yeah, speaking of collabs.
Another
great segue. With a cidery.
Sam, you're the segue goat tonight.
Yeah, you gotta got that segue.
Once again, I petitioned Sam to have a podcast. Boom.
This one started years ago. We did a spontaneous beer out at West Ave. It was an old project with Indy and Great Lakes and Amsterdam. 4 barrels that we started a fucking million years ago. Where we would do a turbid mash, put the wort in some kegs, then go out to take this cool ship that Indy had, and we would go out to these. We did a couple wineries, some cideries, and then make a spontaneous beer. We had done our own spontaneous stuff over the years with the Limberlost series, and this one, we we've worked with other people in the past to sort of branch out the Limberlost. This one we wanted to work with a cidery. I think Jimbo was working with a different cidery, but it kind of fell through. But his idea to work with the cidery was the sort of the push to get these guys. And then when I reached out to West Ave and they were down with it, I was super excited because they make wicked ciders.
Oh yeah.
And
I was gonna say shout out to them, man. Their ciders are incredible.
Yeah.
Gotta get out. They're in Hamilton, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, kind of like Burlington Highway 6. You're heading up towards Guelph.
Yep.
And it's
up there.
like the second exit or so. It is a beautiful place.
Okay, I've really got to get up. I know I'm just trying to hit all the spots out here. I've heard great things. I've had a bunch of the Limberlost over the years. They've been really fascinating. Like one fruited, without fruit. Like, so it's very cool to see that this one. So this one, explain this a little more.
What was the one before this? We did one with the guys at Quails, where we used their hops. We went and harvested hops from Quails, and then blended some of their fresh saison with some of the Limberlost, and we made that one was last year. This year we took their cider juice, unfermented, and then fermented it with our Limberlost barrels in a puncheon, and then fermented that down, moved it up to stainless, added back in some fully fermented cider and a little bit of lager to make it more drinkable.
Okay.
But still taste like you could still get the apple and the Brett and the sour funk. But we wanted to, that was one of the things that we learned over the years with the Limberlost series. When we first started, it was all about fucking hammer over the head, super sour, gut wrenching, hurt your face, power punch of sour. And then we're like, you can only have 2 sips of it and be like, I'm out. But we're like, why don't we make a drink that's pleasant, that people want to have a couple of? So it got more to blending and making it. And I think this one is to me, it's you can drink this on the patio. It's super refreshing.
And I think this represents their brand well too. All of their ciders get it in. Yeah.
Get it in you.
All of their ciders have that nice touch of funk, kiss of Brett, lick of barrel,
dry.
And I find again with speaking of collabs, I think not only did we put our spin on this product, but we definitely pay homage to their products as well. This is fucking good.
That's cool, man, and that's a really good note to add, particularly when you're working with a cidery in that sense as well. That it does both you guys justice.
We came up and we did a tasting of everything. We blended all these beers together. He had a bunch of barrels that were I love this one. It was so barrel forward, and it was just the Brett was it was popping. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I just want to pour this in and say this is the collab. But then when we blended it, and his wife was there, and she's like, well, this would just be for the nerd. We sort of got away from the let's make it pleasant drink. She's like, this is too far this way. Let's bring it back, boys. Calm down. Stop making out. Make a drink that's pleasant for everybody. What was the final gravity, James? It was 0?
Yeah. The density meter read minus, but she's dry.
Yeah,
it's completely unfermented.
Okay. It's everything you sort of described it as, guys. It's super exactly really it's 5.3 on the can it's saying here, but Untapped says
it's specifically 5.3. It is tested at 5.3. Alcohol tested.
Okay. It's wicked tart, but not you're right, Sam, as well, when you were describing that you could drink a bunch of it, but not over the top. It's sharp carb, but not that sharp carb where it makes you choke on it.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, Brendan, it does justice to both the cider and the beer. This is fascinating. It's like a refined. It's still got that chewy mouthfeel that I love from funky beers. Really well done. Really well executed. And I'm excited.
It was fun too because it went from the barrel. We aged it in the puncheons, and then we blended that into stainless and conditioned in stainless, and then obviously carbed and packaged. So it got a little bit of both of that full oak character, but also proper temperature conditioning in the stainless to give it that nice kind of clean, acidic background. It's so drinkable. It's for something that is that barrel heavy, you wouldn't expect it to be that approachable. But the cider and the apples really give that background note that gives it that summer super crusher easy. And like you said, the bone dry is just like, I need to take another sip because my mouth is so dry.
Yeah.
And we also, this one's can conditioned too. So like,
that's right. Yeah.
Re-fermented in the can.
We've been killing that lately too, man.
Yeah.
The white tulip. Oh.
So yeah, re-fermented. We added some sugar, added some yeast, package it, let it sit warm. Starts producing CO2, naturally carbonates.
Especially this, you could afford for this to be extra effervescent,
Mm-hmm. We don't like the Limberlost is a complete. We don't know what it is. So there's bacteria, there's wild yeast, and we've never had an issue with exploding cans when we do the can conditioning, even with the wild. I mean, it helps when it's then fermented because you're not really dealing with a lot of shit that can go wrong because it's like it's pretty safe. But it now, and this has just been sitting on the floor warm. Like we don't even put it in the fridge since June, and it's it's pretty hard can if you leave it out. But the carb's not crazy. We wanted it to be like probably 2.7, 2.8. It's probably exact within 0.5 of that. And again, having the technology, the different instruments that we have, we can pretty much dial that in and be very specific and confident. It took us a long time to get there. Like we did a can conditioned beer that we sent to the LCBO, which was always a big fear because, if it's sitting on a shelf, we have no fucking idea what they would do with it. We had no issues, and it went really well. So we don't have a pasteurizer, so we can't, shut that shit down. We just we're just diligent in how we do it, and we've been doing it for the better part of 10 years, so we're pretty confident in it.
That's dope. With the other Limberlosts, I'm mostly positive that the vast majority of the time they were in bottles, and I think I've had one or two in cans. Were they all can or bottle conditioned?
All of them.
All of them. Okay.
Anything that we ever did in bottles had to be because we never had we had a rudimentary counter pressure. Fucking goddamn kicker into the goddamn lake. But we basically just had a gravity filler and wine filler that we used. So almost everything that we ever did in bottles was bottle conditioned.
Gotcha.
But because we had this canning thing, and we had always focused on cans, but we always kept this foot in the bottles where we did these specialty bottles. Like that was a lot of fun. I still love doing it, and I love the Winewood series that we did in the Limberlost.
Yeah.
We had to own the fact, because we kept touting how much we thought cans were better, that it was sort of like hedging your bets. And we're like, you know what? If we're going to fucking do this, we got to be all in. Like, shit or get off the pot.
Gotcha.
And that's what we did.
So bottles are done for Sawdust?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, we haven't done one in a number of years. And we don't really have any plans to do any at this point.
Well, I guess once...
Glorious canning line.
Yeah, you paid for it. You gotta use it.
Yeah.
Also,
if everything works.
Bottling is a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
Remember
You gotta
days?
do cap by hand and...
Well, especially if you've perfected the can conditioning, like why would you go back other than the appeal and the wax dip?
Yeah.
You know, like realistically, if your product is going to stand and be the same, like if you could deliver the same product to the consumer, like again, like look at the date on this. You know, like the big argument for people would be like, well, I'll store my bottles, it's going to be better. Well, we've been storing can conditioned cans for this long, and they're still just as good. You know what I mean? So. There's no, in my opinion, there's no real reason for us to go the other direction.
I had a can that we canned in 2014 last summer, and it was fine, and it was great. And that was before we had the instrumentation that we have now. Like, we were just going by these numbers and kind of like, yeah, that sounds good. But now we're pretty much like, we know that this is this, and we know that will give us this. You know, if we fuck up, it's completely on us because we have all the information that we need to make this correctly. There's no reason for us to make it wrong. And it hasn't gone wrong. So, I mean, there's a slight bit of hubris there, but we'll be okay.
I feel like as well, because there used to be like a bit of like, I don't know if it's just an expectation or like, it was weird to drink a barrel-aged stout from a can or whatever. But I think that like ever since like Oscar Blues put 1050 in a can, really, I feel like that was like, oh, okay. And I feel like people are just like, whatever. Like it's completely expected, and even a beer like this feels like a bottled type of stuff, but like it's definitely much more convenient. I don't think the consumer cares, and like if it's a hassle for the brewery, and therefore maybe you can't make as many bottles, it's probably just going to cost the consumer more money.
It will cost the consumer more because
for what though? Yeah, like what's the point?
We got to pay $2 for the bottle, so guess who's going to pay the $2? It's
not
gonna be us.
Well, this isn't like, again, going back to what Sam said, is like, for us, a small batch run realistically isn't that small. Like for us to do a run on bottles, like we'd be bottling for a bit. We'd have to downsize fermenters to actually get to a position where it would even be feasible for us to physically run a small bottling line.
I mean, they were fun. Like, as much as like it sucked, we had some fun days.
We did.
Remember we did the drill? Remember Dunk with the drill, trying to drill in the cork?
Oh yeah,
like that was fucking hilarious. They were so bad. They were so bad.
Man, we did corks like by hand.
Wow,
it was tough. And then like I don't know, you guys have had champagne before? Like it's like 6 twists to get it off. 5.5. So we had to do that by hand, which some of us got it, some of us didn't.
So you had finger and thumb are just numb.
Like bleeding.
Oh god.
It was
nightmare.
So we decided like this didn't make it better. It just made it shittier. So we're like, why are we even
what's the point?
And then it hardly moves.
When you're coming back to your whole thing about about your processes and and whatnot, like this is a pretty clear cut one that the canning certainly makes more sense.
Oh yeah, and we can. This will take 1 hour, and it'll be exactly perfect. Or we can shut everything down for a day, line everything up, sit there, and order a pizza because we're not going to be able to leave the line for the next 8 hours, boys.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, fuck that.
And from the consumer perspective, to come back to that for a second, even just purely from a size perspective, because I remember those Limberlost bottles, and those are big, like 750 ml ones.
Heavy.
There, this is a case of and I'm the same way with big barrel aged stouts too. In one sitting, I don't want more volume than this. I would much rather this than 750 mils, especially when I'm the only beer drinker in the house and I don't have anyone to share it with. Because 750 mils of this, and I'm going to be having heartburn the whole next day.
Yeah, and that's like drinking an entire bottle of wine. Like you're bent.
Yeah.
Well, I think even like we mentioned BAOS earlier. I think like going LCBO, thinking back, like one of the most prolifically found bottles would have been BAOS.
Yeah.
And then, once that kind of died off, you find the odd import or the odd imperial stout, but people just aren't buying those big bottles anymore. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense to store those and to warehouse those and to force that on the market because we think it's fancy. Because that's really what you're playing at, right? Is you're going off appeal and you're going off the fact that, it's a premium product, so it should be bottled. Well, we make premium products and we can them every day. That's so right. What does it matter at the end of the day, right? So I liked with Third Moon, they did the wax dip Red Bull can. Remember that? They got that shit's fucking cool, man. That made me laugh. I was like, that is cool. That is
smart.
I like the sleeks.
Oh, and Buddy's like, hey, you did it upside down. And he's like, well, good luck opening it.
That was clever because it's like it's taking the aesthetic like we were talking about from the bottles and bringing it to cans in a format that's 355, which is a pretty optimal amount for one person for a 10+% stout. I think it's pretty dope. I noticed in the States all the bottles were, I guess, about 500 ml. they're doing like 13 to 16% stouts in those things.
Crazy.
I'm like,
beer anymore.
yeah, it's bonkers, and like it's a little too much. But they're still. I've noticed they're still doing a lot of bottles. Where I feel like these little cans, they're cute, they work.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's money. It's a good thing. Would you guys ever be able to do those now that you got this
I think
canning
our
machine?
does leaks. I think our machine
Yeah,
can do those.
Okay,
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
You have to change a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I think-
But,
I think the cap, funnily enough, on these is the exact same size as like it's the same size as like a regular can.
wow. Oh, cool.
You know what I'm saying? So
Like,
like,
I know for us, we were talking about ease of like transferring over. Like for us shorties, I think originally you said it was like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
but you've got that banged down.
Yeah.
Like,
To like
you know,
convert the machine.
yeah, 30 minutes, we could basically have the whole machine converted to running short cans.
Yeah.
I don't know how the conversion would work for something like that.
It'd be like swapping out your like star wheels, those star wheels.
so it'd
and
be a
then-
whole. You'd have to
and then
almost
you're-
buy a whole upgrade kit.
Yeah, and then
You
like
have to
your
buy a kit.
track that the cans come in on,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah. So like that makes sense.
and then
yeah.
your thing for your fittings too.
that gets pricey then.
Oh, it's a bunch.
just a package Red Bull.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for that. I would say just the little other shorties that you've already done in the past before
Yeah.
would be completely fine if it's for that. Like, but it sounds like though from what you guys were saying that people aren't as excited about the big beers in those cans as opposed to the crushers for that like you know,
Yeah.
chuck somebody a beer type of thing.
At least our consumers, that's how they reacted to those.
Right. That's cool though.
Again, we don't do a huge amount of barrel aged stuff anymore. We've kind of moved a bit away from that. We're still dipping our toe in it. We still do it once in a while. We have a barrel aged bar coming out. Did you ever sit in your basement and try that yet, Greg?
Oh, I told you that. I told Nate. I told Sam about Noah doing the basement in 31 degrees, drinking 12% beers.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. Well, I did over the summer for sure. I absolutely did. But I didn't even sit in the basement. I just sat upstairs, kept that shit warm. I didn't give a fuck. Get out here. Let the sun shine on me while I'm doing it. Let's go. But a barrel aged barley wine, is it lone wine with barrels?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
Nice.
That is some good bourbon too, man.
Yeah.
That is some good bourbon. that
It
is
comes out on the 18th of October. We're gonna like release it in tandem with a vintage version, like last year's lone wine, and you can get the bourbon barrel aged version side by each parallel, and
That's sick.
try them together.
In your basement.
And like in your basement, in your underpants when it's 31 degrees.
No shirt. No shirt.
No, for sure,
just-
no shirt.
Let it dribble down your
Lying on
mouth.
the couch, skin sucked against the back of the vinyl couch. You gotta peel yourself off with a spatula.
You're painting a picture. I'm thirsty. It's a
I was
beautiful
thinking
thing.
about that Sam and Dave collab, Sam. What was that beer called? The one we did in the bourbon.
Did it go in barrels this year?
No,
No, Humming for the Holidays? No, was that?
it wasn't barrel aged. No, we probably should have done some. That was.
I'm thinking of
man,
something
I
else.
can't remember- I don't remember what was last year. Humming.
Oh, that might be the one.
I can't remember. Like we every year we do a different Sam and Dave with Eastbound, and I kind of lost track of what was last year.
We're going there. We're going there
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys been doing that forever.
This year's called Wrap It Up because there's actually something called Wrap It Up. I'm like,
That is such a
That's
sick name too. Like
that's
fucking.
right there.
fucking
What's the style this year? Can you let us know? You're not sure yet.
We're doing a spiced saison. We're gonna keep it like 6%. We've always done like these elevated ABVs, but we're trying to make it more accessible again. Like this is our 6th year of doing it, so it's been we've done a lot of different stuff, and like it's always fun. And Tara and Dave always put on a good meal when we do the feast bound down there. Like it's awesome. It's such an awesome time, and it's just it's really one of those rewarding collabs because Dave and I have been, friends for over a decade now, and we both started in the same place. So it's one of those like full circle type of deals, and I'm so glad that we still get to do it. So I'm just happy.
Yeah, it's a fun one. You guys definitely focus a lot on the collabs, which is awesome. I mean, how do you feel? Like, is that more of a personal like thing that you just like doing, or is there like a business side? Do you think that there's like a benefit to just like expanding the brand through working together?
Well, there's part of that, that's where but I also feel, again, going back to like, it just seems like the right thing to do. Like, it's such a collaborative industry, and, you meet all these people. That's how I met all these people, and that's how we meet how we get to where we're going is through, and we learn from them, and, it's not always the most, sometimes days are long and hot and shitty and all that stuff, but like when you get to do a collab, it's super fun because you guys can relax and it's just drinking beer, hanging out, and making a fun beer. And sometimes you can really expand ideas that you might not be able to in the context of your regular day-to-day business. And just adds that extra little bit of fun that makes the day go by a little bit quicker. I mean, and you make friends out of it. Like, who doesn't want to make friends? Like, that's crazy. Why wouldn't you want to make friends?
Right. Were you guys doing, when I guess nobody could go anywhere, did you guys do virtual collabs in that way? Or did you kind of...
We did one with Indie, but that was really it, I think.
John Square Brew one, I think, was virtual.
Oh, yeah. That was definitely...
Okay. So it was like, I guess the physical, like actually being there in person is pretty important for you guys.
We did one with Prince Eddie.
Nice. Good cats.
We did a big triple IPA. Well, that was fucking... Those guys are great.
Yeah, they're cool cats. So it's like, it's definitely more of like the camaraderie and actually being there in person and kind of building on that relationship is more important than the collab itself, really, what I'm hearing.
And just getting out of the brewery and getting out of the headspace and going to see, like, just, traveling somewhere to visit somebody else. Like, just that simple act. Like, I'm so stoked. Brendan's getting to do a couple in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to one. We're going to do one in North Bay. We're going to go do. We have 4 collabs in the next 2 weeks. Sick. It just happened to work out that way, and very excited to get on the road. Going to go to Eastbound. Going to go. Brendan's off to Second Wedge and Daft and Kingston, and then we're off to North Bay. Mm-hmm. So we're covering the province, and it's like just getting out and partying in a new town and seeing a new brewery and hanging out with these guys. Like, it's so much fun.
It's the best, eh? I found that even with I hadn't done an in-person collab in a long time before, like this summer with you guys, because it was just like the pandemic, Montreal. It was different. Where it's like now I have I had to book a car. It's like a whole thing, and now I just have a car. It's like sweet, let's just go. It's no big deal. Whereas like before, it was like this whole thing you had to kind of plan. It just wasn't always practical. So it was really nice to get back and do. I don't want to talk too much about it just yet because I know we'll get to it shortly. But yeah, it was cool. I see what you meant. I was like, yeah, it was so nice seeing all you guys, and it felt like no time had passed. And it's insane to me that it was 5.5 years since the last collab and then podcast. It felt like nothing. It was weird. Maybe because you guys, Brendan, obviously we met that day, but Jimbo and Sam, you guys looked the same. It was like every time I see you guys, it's like oh,
second Amber for 5 years.
Yeah, it's basically Star Wars in this bitch. It's I see what you're talking about.
You never skip a beat.
Yeah, man. It's very cool. I like that a lot. You're right. I definitely see the value in that. And I can imagine, obviously, when you're working with another brewery, you have different things. You got to share some ideas and learnings and things that work and didn't work, and all that type of stuff. Which is just that's just part of, I guess, any industry. Is why they have all this type of stuff going on.
And when the time that we started was that beginning, that germination when we were kind of just growing up. That whole, everybody was collabing and getting out there and doing that stuff, and it was super fun. And we just haven't let go of that. Why would we? We still hang out with the same guys too. We're still collabing with GLB, with Indie. Right? Jeff is probably one of the people that we've most collabed with over the years. We kind of started in the same place, and it's nice to allow that friendship to grow. And experience over the years, go back, look at the beers that you've done together and where we both are, and we still work together when we have the opportunity. It's not always a collab, but it's other stuff. Like if they're doing an event or we're doing an event, they're always one of the first people we talk to because, you know, we share that bond.
You know, craft brewing's such a tight industry like that. You know, like people talk about tight industries, but it's definitely one of the tightest that I've seen. You know, like we look out for each other. Like even just, you know, the fittings, like people are always willing to share. Yeah, try this, do this. Oh, we do this. Like why don't you try this? Or here, borrow this. Like
I need some wheat.
Yeah, like it's definitely like a brotherhood, you know, or sisterhood. Like, you know, not to fucking can't gender anything anymore. It's definitely it's a great industry to be in and to be a part of, and the collabs is what reminds you of that, especially during COVID. You know, like everyone was locked in their fucking brewery. Like you were there, you were working and you were grinding, and which is fine. Like that's what we do. But it's nice to actually finally get the opportunity to go out and see other people and see their breweries, talk about them, hear about their shit. You know, talk about your shit. Like,
blow off some steam.
You know, I see these guys every fucking day. It's nice to see some other lads every once in a while.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's cool. It's and like, you know, on top of that, there's like business wins for it if it's just like exposing the brand to somebody new, a new drinker who might be a fan of the brewery that you're doing a collab with, and they see your logo on the can, like, oh, who are these guys? And, you know, figuring it out. It's cool.
That was like when we've done interprovincial collabs. That's definitely a big part of it, like getting your name out there. We've done, you know, collabs in BC, Nova Scotia, Quebec, a number in Quebec. I mean, I absolutely love working with breweries in Quebec. Like, we collaborated a bunch with the guys at Ala Food.
Yeah. And, I know about them because of you.
Fucking awesome. I love those guys so much. We had such good times with those guys.
Yeah.
I miss them. I haven't talked to them in a couple of years, so I got to reach out, see how they're doing. But amazing people, and it just gives you an appreciation. Like that's also like we get to experience a completely different environment in Quebec. Like it's also a different, you know, market, and we see how their market exists and what they have to do to exist in their specific space. And they saw the same thing for us. And like you go, like it's a different world. And it was like you really appreciate where you are, but also see like the benefit of knowing what other people are doing that you might be able to utilize in your day to day as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Particularly like, you know, like someone like Ala Food, because I remember we went there and did the pod like 4 years ago or something, and I came up when I was looking at Untapped before, like they gave us a bunch of cans, like kind of silver bullets of like the golden horseshoe thing that you guys did. It was and there's like 3 variants of it or something that just had like handwritten things on there. I've still got them because I haven't drank them yet, but like they were super cool as well. And I thought of you a lot there because you told me about them. I think you were the one who put me onto them, to be honest. And like seeing their barrel room, and then like I was like, I see why Sam likes these guys. These guys are fucking cool, man. Like really hospitable, super chill. The pub is great, food is great, beer is awesome. Like Rouge de Mackinac is phenomenal. Like, I get it. I totally get it. And it's cool, like just particularly because they're a smaller town, you see how they work, and you know, the sharing of ideas is even cooler into provincial or international than, you know, within the same province. I think there's more value probably that you can help each other with type thing.
And like for me, it's just I feel so like this. I just feel so lucky to even have the opportunity to do so many of these things. Like when it does come up, I'm like, man, I can't believe I get to go do this. Like this is fun. I'm so happy I get to do this, and I really appreciate it. Like I don't know what I did to even get the chance to do it, but I'm happy that I got to do it.
I think the gratitude attracts more of that. When you're grateful for it and you genuinely grateful, it depends how woo-woo you are, but like that universe shit, I believe in it. I feel like the more you're grateful about stuff, the more those things come around, and like those relationships build because people can sense that, like, oh man, like they're really having a good time. They're really putting effort and there's passion here and stuff. And it just kind of like, it builds. And then those people are going to speak about your brand positively to their consumers, and then they're going to travel to Ontario. They're going to go, oh, fuck, man, we're going to make sure we go to Sawdust, or at the very least, they'll go to Toronto, they'll get some at the LCBO. Like, you know, these things just keep going like that. It's very cool, man. The beer is such a unique industry. It's like unlike anything else that even happens. Like, name another industry that people work together
Right.
this closely and help each other out without any jealousy or like trying to push someone down. You know, it's fucking sick.
You know what? I think the public has a like they see it so differently, right? They think everything's like rivalry because that's how most consumer products are dictated.
Yeah.
So it's always a surprise when people are like, oh, you do stuff with them,
What
or
are you doing
what?
there?
Oh, I thought you don't think they're assholes, or like as a brewer, that's the weird thing. Going to parties, like people will open like a beer and they're like, oh, you must fucking hate that. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like, what
Why
are
did
you
you give me one
talking
of
about?
those? I want to drink their beer. Like,
Yeah.
Man, I'm not stuck in my ways. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to be
so-
difficult for people outside of it, even though Nate and I are like just peripheral on this stuff. But we see it enough to understand it, and like I remember coming into it and thinking, what the fuck? Like, why are they doing? Like, you can imagine how trippy it is for people who just are not exposed to it, and all of a sudden there's this camaraderie like from other companies and helping each other out and working together. Like, what? Like, why are you doing this? It's
Yeah.
it's cool. It's breaking the mold.
It's one of those things of like with the amount of time that like he says, like we're kind of only on the side of it, but still spending as much of our time focused on the beer scene. It's easy to just like for that to be normalized. This at like kind of the camaraderie way of things that people in the scene have towards each other, which is really heartwarming every time you see it. But like it's kind of funny because like you kind of forget that that's how that's how people who aren't in it every day might raise their eyebrow at that a little bit. But I think it's cool to have that be normalized, that the scene is that friendly. Like it's like there's something heartwarming about that.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
I'm glad it
Showcase that to the public as well, right? Like shows that like these companies are willing to work together and do things together.
Yeah.
as much as the pandemic killed a lot of things, I'm so happy that wasn't one of them. That we still like we came on the other end and it's still the same. That's because it's just that's the best part of it. So I'm super stoked.
Speaking
of,
of
like,
the
working
best
with
part,
Nate,
I was trying to do it. You beat me to it.
we worked with some people on this one here coming up too. This Wayback Playback. So John, our other brewer, who's
Shout out Johnny.
So this was a beer he brewed for the first time last year. This year we want to take it's a West Coast classic IPA. But this year we tried some new hop products. So we tried it's mostly extract in the Whirlpool, and all the dry hops are a new product, which is like a hop oil. So the dry hops were completely done in the bright tank with like literally 300 milliliters of this concentrated hop oil. It's a company that started out making weed terpenes, and they did the same extraction on hops. So,
Oh my god.
we went. It's all classic, so it's not going to be like a wallop, but it's like a classic Centennial, Cascade, Simcoe, West Coast IPA.
Nice.
You could smell that hot product from like I don't know, like a foot away. I'm like, jeez.
It's got a wicked dankness. Like just the dankness is fantastic.
That's so crazy.
I feel like the biggest upside to this, to me, is the mouth feels fantastic. It's got this creaminess, this full stickiness that I absolutely just love.
That's speaking my language right there. I'm all about that.
Yeah, Nate and I are.
And look at the head on this.
Yeah.
So just appearance-wise, all over it is. It's so clear, and then that big fluffy head on it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. This was one of the beers we were most excited about when we realized we were doing the pod and we saw that this beer came out. We're like, oh fuck, I hope we're doing this one, and we did.
And sorry, Sam, I think I talked over you there for a second.
Nope. It was fun to do like this. I find it really drinkable. Like I quite enjoyed just having pints of it. like I had one like on a Friday night a couple weeks ago. I'm like, man, I really fucking like this because like I said, I like the classic stuff, and this is what I was leaned on, like these classic West Coast IPAs.
Fuck, it's pretty drinkable.
Let's get that in us. Get it fucking in you, boys. Get it in you.
Cheers.
That's going nowhere.
And it's fun to work with these new products.
It's fucking nutty.
Yeah.
Like, shout out to head retention.
Seriously,
Like,
the head is not
overlooked
no
thing.
Look at that.
Yeah. Wow. So it's
That's unreal.
5.8. This is fantastic. So the hop is it a specific? So it's called like abstracts. It looks like ABSTRA.
Abstracts is the company. So if you look up abstracts, hop, they call them hop profiles.
Okay.
And they have, well, there's certain like it's like songs. You know, like you have songs that are public domain. There are hops that are public domain, like I think. Well, Centennial, Cascade, and all that stuff. Like anyone can use that. But then there's trade specific. Like Simcoe is owned by this, so it has to be. You can't just make a Simcoe extract. You have to call it. They call them like tropical passion fruit or dank passion fruit. Like you can figure out what it's supposed to be without them using that name. So, but this we went like old school on this one. John wanted to make like the classic. There's a bit of Amarillo hops pelletized in the boil, but then the rest of it's like Centennial and Cascade abstracts, and then we used another product called Salvo, which was like a hop oil, a solid oil in the whirlpool as well, and that was Cascade as well. So it's like the old traditional C hops, and just that bitter, sticky, oily, resinous beer that you remember from your first sort of IPA trip when you were like first busted into the craft beer scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. I'm trying to like, so it's that like, is there the weed, the terpenes is really dominating here?
Well, you get that at the beginning. It's like dank and lemon to me.
Lemon for sure.
Yep.
I love the dankness. I just love I love dank because that to me denotes West Coast. Stinky dank. But you can feel it on your teeth, which is what it used to be.
I'm all about that too. That was something that really stuck out to me when I had Bone Pine on tap in the saloon. Like that one like had such big sticky dank to it. Like that was just spectacular. And like it's obviously a bit different in this one with this one being more West Coast, but West Coast dank is its whole own thing. And I'm really digging it here. It's one that almost comes off a little smoky, if that makes any sense.
Well, yes, it's one of the phenolics that you pick up is the smokiness when you get that.
Mm-hmm.
Back in.
Yeah.
Like when we were making it, the size of the bottle was like it was comically small, and we're like, this is all we need. We made a cask for an event, and it was literally 2 milliliters. Like we had an eyedropper, and we're like, beep, beep, and that was it. And we're like, I guess that's it. And it worked. Like it was.
I guess
that cask was unreal, by the way. I'm probably the only one that got to try that here, but
it was good.
It was a really good cask. The Wayback Playback that we sent to Welly Cask Fest.
Nice.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Yeah, this is like unlike anything I think I've had as far as Westies, and you guys are like god tier with the Westies. Like Lone Pine is one of the best.
Dude, that's my water, man. I drink Lone Pine on the regular. It's such a good beer.
It's so good. No, this is like, it's so different though, which is I think interesting because I think that's the, when you're doing multiple Westies, it's really like something that you do need to like kind of like to differentiate. And this is super different. It's such a great body. Sure. It's like creamy and sharp. It's like dank citrus that terpene I think is really strong here, and it's just unique. I don't think I've ever had a hop profile like this before with all these products. Fascinating.
It's exciting that, you know, the supplier side is working on these new products as well. So it gives us something. We have another one that just came out. We've done a couple beers with a few different hop liquid products, and we just did a collab sort of with YCH. And they had a liquid form of Citra that we used, where like one liter was 10 kilos of vegetal hop pellets. Okay. And like being able to try these different products, again, from the efficiency standpoint, how you can work it in there. And we're finding with these other products also is like you do get a difference in the mouthfeel and the head retention. Like they're elevated and amped up, and you know, outside of just from a efficiency standpoint, there's other benefits to the product, and it's also fucking easier to just go like this and pour a bottle in. Yeah. Or like the dry hop with these two little bottles was like, so this is all we do, eh? Like just we're done.
All right then. That's pretty fascinating that it's even a thing. So is it like this is a proprietary thing for brew culture that they own this?
They brought it in. Abstract is the company's.
They do their thing.
Brew culture was supplying it in Ontario. Like Dan came to us and was like, "Hey, I got this new thing. You want to try it?" I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah, man, of course."
Why not?
So he brought it in and we tried it, and we're like, I can't see us not using it again. Like, I'd like to try more products, like in different stuff, but even if it's just to like elevate a product we already have, to punch it up a bit, to get better head retention, to get more mouthfeel. Like, I just love the mouthfeel. It's so.
Well, you want to talk about process side. Like, we run through the Fuge, which gives us great yield. We already mentioned that, but utilizing no particulate in the whirlpool allows us to get even greater yield at the back end. Yeah, because it just runs through everything. You know, you're not trying to strip out any sort of hop particulate at all. So your cast out becomes, you know, you're going to gain a little bit there alone. Yeah. So that allows you to create a product that, you know, has such a robust aroma and flavor, as well as gaining the liters that you want on the back end for sales. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's dope, man. No, I fuck with this. How does everybody feel about a quick piss break?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I'm going to go, we'll pause this and we'll be back in a minute, but people watching are not going to notice a difference at all. So we're going to be back like, oh yeah, we're back. Bladders, never seen emptier bladders here, guys. Just completely stripped of urine. Now.
Fucking needed that.
Right? I think it's good, you know, nearly 2.5 hours in. I told y'all it wouldn't be 2 hours. I didn't expect this one to be. But, so Wayback Playback is what we're drinking now. We've got the fun, different hot products, which is sick. I mean, I feel like, once again, it's definitely in your wheelhouse. Like, we're talking this kind of whole episode about all the fun shit you guys have been trying across the board. So, of course, if there's new hot products available, you guys jumping on it. Is how many, like, West Coast. So, like, maybe we should talk about this because we're in the IPA segment now. Nate and I did an episode. Was it this year? It was this year, right?
No, it was last year.
Fucking hell, I got no memory. Because we're always drunk. So we did an episode on West Coast IPAs, and we did basically Ontario and Quebec, ones that are relatively easy to get. So we did Headstuck, Lone Pine from here, and then we did some Saint-Guillaume Baron in Quebec, who do argue, I think, the best West Coast out there for sure. And I just feel like Lone Pine is just such an incredible, consistent beer that's reliable, that it fits with the time. If you want a West Coast IPA that's just done properly, it's just it's
and
perfection.
Accessible too.
Accessible. It's easy to get. 7%. Just it's money. You guys obviously can do everything well. So how many different West Coast, aside from, obviously this is, I was going to say, I guess my point was, I was like, oh, maybe this is only the second West Coast that I've maybe had from Sawdust. But have you guys done other Westies in the past?
I think from a double standpoint, a lot of our doubles are Westie doubles, but
shout out the Lone Pine.
Was it Twin Pine,
I'm
right?
trying to think. Like I mean, we do them like session style. Like,
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
I mean, outside of collabs, I don't know if it's something that we've ever really focused on because Lone Pine was like our flagship, so we didn't really see the need to explore it more or just eat our own grass. Like,
makes sense.
I've heard you've been working on that beer a long time, though, Sam.
Well,
like it's perfected now, but
it
it's not like one of your
changed
beauties.
much in the last couple years. Like it's pretty static now, but definitely it went through changes over the years. Like, but I still feel like I like now that we have these new products. I'm like, man, I want to know how this would work in Lone Pine. Like, I'd love to get that. My favorite West Coast IPA is Fathead Headhunter. I fucking love that beer, and I think it's so good, and I can't believe how drinkable it is with its ABV. I'm like, it's just awesome, and I want to know how to. I wanted to get a little bit more of that.
I want one now.
The mouthfeel they get, sort of the stickiness they get. I think it's a fantastic beer, and like. I went to the ball game the other day in Pittsburgh, and the first thing I walk in, and there was a fucking Fathead bar. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I went straight there. I had a pint of, like, I must have had 4 of them. Don't have 4 heads when you're with your family at a ball game.
Words of advice.
It's just such a great beer. But, like, yeah, so you try those other beers, and they make you think about how would I want to do with this one? Like, how do I want to... You want to fuck with it completely, but you want to like bring in the elements that you like about the stuff that you think is awesome. So you got to work it in there. I don't know. It's never done.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I understand why maybe you don't want to cannibalize the flagship Westie from what you guys were doing. And typically, I would say unless you like Maine Beer Co. or maybe Russian River or something, most breweries would just have maybe one West Coast anyway, or Saint Baron have a bunch, but most breweries would kind of just do the one, and they do that one really well and kind of focus on that. So I get it. And this is cool because it's so different. The Wayback is super different from Lone Pine, and it's experimental.
Well, it allows us to make a different Westie, right? Like we're talking about like, tweaks to Lone Pine, but you could also just, with our capability and taps and the way that we sell, we could just put out another Westie, and see how it sells and try those different techniques. And this beer is a prime example of that. And
No, it's fascinating. It's just really cool to try something completely different from you guys in that zone, like it's just, like we've had Lone Pine a bunch of times obviously, and it's so consistent and reliable, which has become like, before that was, I feel like that was kind of like a bit boring, was like consistent, reliable flagship. Now I've found that more and more people seem to be wanting that because maybe it's like, the thing we always say, like in this economy, it's rough times a little bit for the whole world. Like no one's really, maybe the like Dubai or something is kind of cruising, but everyone, typically everything's a little bit of a bumpy road, and it's okay because it's part of how it goes. But if you're going to be spending your hard-earned money on beer, you're going to want something that is going to hit the spot, and I feel like that's a beautiful thing with a beer like Lone Pine. And it's accessible. It's not like out of people's reach. It's a great price, and you get the bang for your buck, 7%. So it's not like low, and it's just it does that, and I think it's super cool. So it's extra fun to me anyway to try something completely kind of like a bit of a left turn even from that. As far as the West Coast vibe from you guys, so it's cool. I wonder if you could do like Lone Pine with some of these fun hop products that keep it the same, but like see if that gives it a different bump. If it's when I say keep it the same hops,
it will be something we'll try. If it varies too far, then no. But like,
right?
Why wouldn't you take advantage of it if you can make it? We don't want it to not be what it is. Like, I always hate when breweries get really big and then they sort of fuck with the shit that made them good in the first place, and then you're like, why did they change this beer? It It was so good, and it's not what it was before. And I get that people's palate change, and they, you do change over time. But there's definitely dumbed down versions of the thing that you had before. And we don't want to be that. We wanted to keep it as exciting as the first time you had it.
That's fair.
And that's important.
Yeah, no, I agree. You don't want to bastardize, particularly like such a strong brand like that that's been around for so long, and kind of like what you're saying, Brendan, like you've tweaked it over the years, like to the point where it's just money zone, and like, yeah, I think that would probably piss people off. But if you release it as a separate sort of like a twist on it or something, then that's different. And is it called Twin Pine? Is that correct? The double version?
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite fucking beer right there, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam, I'm looking at you right now.
Yeah, eh?
You're asking me what beers I want to brew.
Schedule for next year.
I feel like this has been a fight that's been going on behind the scenes. Is this?
No, I'm just saying. I love that. Like that. The simple branding you had before, the pure black logo with two like.
So cool.
Yeah.
Simple logo Twin Pines. Like, oh man, that beer was so fucking. That was before I was not even brewing. Like, that's the kind of beer that I had. But I was like, this shit is fucking good.
Those pine trees were the pine trees from the Twin Pine logo from the back
From Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Those pines came from.
I 100% co-sign, by the way. I fucking love that beer, too. I miss that beer.
Yeah. It's coming back. We just, again, like, nothing's ever gone. It's just sort of put on.
I'm brewing that one. Yeah. It's going on podcast right now. John's not brewing that beer. I am.
Let's go. Sorry, Johnny.
Brendan did.
It's coming back. I really like that one, too. I was, like, super happy how it turned out. And the whole, it was, who was it? It was... Shit, why can't I remember his name? I feel bad not remembering his name, but the guy that owns Toronto Brewing Homebrew Shop.
Oh, Zach.
Zach, whatever, yeah. When we did the Twin Pine, and then he's like, is this a reference for Back to the Future? And at the time, I just did it because it was Lone and then two. and then I'm like, oh my God, you're right. So he was the one that pointed it out, and then the branding came from there. So
that's awesome. Shouts to Zach.
Amazing.
Funnily enough, this is kind of a nice little segue. Back in 2016, so Sam, you were one of the first brewery guests on the podcast when like we'd barely started to take it seriously. We started in April 2015, so we were like one of the first.
Was this the rooftop at Bar Hop?
That was a rooftop at Bar Hop. In July 2016 was when we first did that, and you were hungover and you drove 2 hours to do it, and I'm forever grateful for you for that, and I've appreciated you ever since. You've just been such a fucking G, and I love you. I love Sawdust forever for that. Not even to mention the next beer we're about to get into, and what's my fucking point? So I think just after that, so I got obsessed with Haze. Me and Scott obviously were super obsessed with Haze. Around that time, I think I had my first New England in Vermont, which was Hill Farmstead's Double Galaxy. And then we came back, and I remember I messaged you, and you were sort of in Oakville, and you met me at Toronto Brewing. That's just reminded me. And you gave me some cans of juicing because I was trying to comprehend what a New England IPA was. I just loved the fact that it was hazy and different, and there wasn't much new in beer at the time. Since I was into it, it was the first new thing that came out. We're drinking tongue-stripping West Coast and Belgians and all other fun stuff, but this was the first new thing, so I was kind of obsessed, and there wasn't really anything in Ontario. So that was, if I'm not, I remember it was cold, and I think it was October 2016. Something like that.
It would have been okay. So the first one was after we did our mustache competition, and this was a beer that Caleb and James made. Because, like, again, I'm gonna be like Matt Tweedy, and when I first saw Haze, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, it didn't make sense to me. But this is also why, like, it's not just. It doesn't matter just what I think. That's why you have other people's opinions and. So James and Caleb, they came up with juicing, and they were. I don't even remember Caleb's buddy who won the mustache competition.
I feel his name was Joel, maybe, or I can't remember.
We'll just call him Joel. And Joel won the mustache competition. And the winner gets to make a beer at Sawdust. So basically, Caleb and James just said, "This is what we're making."
Yeah,
and told Joel that we were going to make this.
He was into it.
To me, I didn't understand hazies at that time. I didn't get the appeal. Fine. Luckily, these two did, and they went down that road. And it wasn't the first, but it was one of the first in Ontario. I think to me, the first one that I ever came across was the Bronin
High Road. Yes.
Oh,
Well, I've had them on the pod because now I don't know why his name's escaping me, but he now owns Harmon's non-alcoholic beer. So he sold High Road.
Yeah, we worked together at Mill Street years.
Yes.
And years.
So Steve owns Harmon's as well. So he was the founder of Mill Street. I didn't know that until he told me on the pod. I'm like, oh shit, that's crazy. And then I think is it Rob? I think it might be Rob.
Yeah, no, it's Rob and fuck, he taught me in school. That's what's pissing me off even more, that you're both forgetting his name.
Well, no, Rob was the dude who was the brewer at High Road and was the owner of it too.
Rob also taught at the college as well.
Yeah, I think he still does. And
dude, he used to work at Muskoka.
Yeah.
And then he moved to Australia.
Kurt
and Rob. It was Kurt and Rob. Kurt and Rob. That's who started High Road.
So Rob said that High Road Bronin IPA was 2015. Now
it was.
Yeah. Okay. So, and the reason I'm bringing this up because I'm trying to like catalog the timeline of haze in Ontario just for the record. So he told me that Bronin was like, I forgot what month, but in 2015. Now, that is a Vermont IPA because it was modeled after, I think he said Heady or whatever. Now, Vermont IPA technically is not a New England IPA. It's a different thing, but it was in that vein. It was the predecessor to a New England IPA. Then we were speaking, Nate and I had Jeremy from Boncat on last year. And he said that he believes that they did the first New England IPA in Ontario in April 2016, and it was called The Juice. Is that correct, Nate?
No, it's Eminence.
Eminence, thank you. So I knew I'd fuck that up. So then he did that, and in my head, I thought it was Juicin' because that was the first one I had, and I'd never seen it before. And because I lived in Montreal, Boncat were 500 years from me, and it wasn't even like they were doing growlers at the time, and it wasn't even like really on my radar. Does that sound accurate to you guys? Actually, no. The first question was, what month do you recall in 2016 Juicin' being released?
Well, the mustache competition was in November, so it would have been right after November. So it was cold, and so probably sometime in November.
Okay, I'm gonna check then. Oh, did I have Untapped then? I think I might have, because I want to see what my first check into Juicin' was.
I mean, I also could be.
That seems so situational. Yeah. Like there's so many breweries. Like somebody fucking did a hazy.
Yeah. I think you're right.
It probably didn't do well.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they may have been the first.
Well, yeah, because I think people weren't ready for it, and there were the ones that were ahead of the game that were traveling to Boston or whatever to get that. I'm looking here. 19th of November 2016 was the first check-in I had to Juicin'. That means I met you in November at Toronto Brewing. I always in my head thought it was up.
That tracks.
That tracks.
Yeah, and then.
Okay, that makes sense.
Would you say, James, like it kind of started more Vermont and then moved to hazy because we started with the Vermont yeast and it was sort of unreliable.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
Like we would get from batch to batch, just didn't really.
Yeah, sometimes they'd be hazy.
One would be hazy, one would be clear.
Yeah, one would finish low, one would finish high.
So then we moved to Foggy London, which moved it more towards the hazy, as you know it now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like this is just from a production standpoint, you want repeatability. Like you can't have someone trying it. So this is how we ended up here. Started out here. We went through many different iterations, and you sort of figure out just takes time. Like that, it doesn't really end up where you started. It always ends up somewhere else, and that's where
the crazy thing about that though is like you've listed two, like Juicin and Bronin. Those are those are good fucking hazies. When hazy trains started, there was a lot of hop burn on the market. There was a lot of bad hazies. I can't call. I'm not calling anyone out in particular. I just remember like to get on board the haze train for me as a Westie fan was difficult early on because there were good ones. Don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of people just dry hop bombing shit and putting it out early to get haze, and it was just like throat burn, and so beers like Juicin and Bronin and stuff like that. That's why they stood out. That's why they were anomalies because like it was like, okay, this could be executed well. That this is a product that can be a thing, and now like it's the same thing with lagers. Like now there's good hazies in Ontario. The market is strong. Some would even say saturated. But it took steps to get to that point because everybody jumped on board. Hazies got popular and everyone wanted to make a hazy, but not everybody knew how to do it. And I think you guys jumping on early, and as Sam said, having iterations allowed you guys to get ahead of the curve and allow yourself to have a product that stood above, and still stands, like it's still a top selling product. People love juicing. That beer's not going anywhere anytime fucking quick. So
it's an OG. I remember I had it with you guys when we were hanging out after the brew day, and it was just straight peach juice. I think that was the first time I'd had it on tap. I think every other time I'd had it in a can. So even to this day, it's just such a unique, fantastic beer. And I remember just back then being blown away because I couldn't understand the softness of them. Like, I didn't understand why it's like soft and pillowy and not biting my tongue like I'm so used to. It was like a mental adjustment. But like I was excited for it, and it was like I really think that I'm not aware of any other ones aside from those three: Bronin, Eminence, and Juicin. Maybe Bellwood. Then I did a podcast with these dudes in Montreal who were like home brewers, and they were like, "Oh, you want a hazy IPA or a hazy pale ale?" Like Jutsu and Bellwoods is like the hazy. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, because I lived up the road from them when I lived in Toronto in 2010, 11, and 12. I was there when they opened, and like they weren't doing that then. So then they told me about Jutsu. Then after having Juicin, then I think I went back in like January 2017 or something, and was like, "What the fuck? This is amazing! Why didn't anyone tell me?" And then started to go from there. But there still wasn't like many breweries.
Shout out Great Lakes, then RoboHop. Yeah, if you're gonna say Jitsu, RoboHop was before Jitsu.
It was it considered haze?
The original was a Westie. The original was a better.
Yeah, but and then they did a New England version.
New England version.
They did, and they did Octopus.
The same time as Jitsu.
Yeah. They were kind of like juicy West Coasts. Definitely sort of in that conversation as far as the time frame, but because that was, I think, 2018 as well. So like in that time, it was like everyone was discovering it. There were some breweries that were hesitant. There were some that leaned into it. Now, in my head, it was just you guys really just were like giving it a swing. At the very beginning of the whole wave, not even really knowing it was going to be a thing. Just like, hey, this seems fun and weird. Like now you told the story, Sam. I see, it's Jimbo and Caleb figuring it out, and you just sort of like perfected it now, and it makes me very happy to know that beer is still top 3, however many years later. What's that? 7 years later. That's pretty sick.
Crazy.
This talk of all this talk of juicing harkens back to the days of of beer trading, like in Ontario before online sales were everyone was doing that. This was one of juicing definitely had to have been one of the most heavily traded beers in Ontario at the time, I would think.
For sure.
Yeah.
The first couple batches, I remember how fucking fast they went.
It literally sell out in like a day.
Wow.
Like crazy.
People come in buying like 6 cases and taking it to Toronto to trade with people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wild.
6. What is that? Treehouse. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was a different time, and it still moves. It moves fast. It's just, but also like the market doesn't do that anymore. Like because there are so many other, and there are a ton of great hazy IPAs in this. You can go from town to town and you get awesome IPAs. Like it's just people got good at it because it was everybody wanted to.
Yeah,
it's a fun beer to make too, and it's like everyone. It's an enjoyable drink. So
I love it. I love it. Some might say that you need to get it in you. I was trying to do a Sam segue here. So the beer we've been waiting.
It's time. Is it time?
It's time.
We fucking already opened it.
Oh yeah.
Boom.
Get in you 2.0. The second, the follow-up, the sequel.
Can't give you this.
Oh
yeah.
Look at that. What a fucking beaut. So this beer is when was it packaged? Say August 9th? So this is like 6-7 weeks old.
It's crazy.
Which is still still drinking killer.
Oof. Oh yeah.
Good.
8.5%. The second variation of the original, which I have right next to me. I'm going to hold that up in a second.
My God, look at that color.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Because it's so intense, it lasts so long.
Wow. I haven't had one since.
Yeah, I haven't touched one either in a while.
Same.
They're up there in the booth.
I had one in the pool when I was down in Hilton.
You're already done, bud.
Yeah. Cheers, buddy. Oh, it smells good.
Get that in you guys.
Mm-hmm. Smell that galaxy?
Holy fuck. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's so smooth. No beer, no hazy IPA has any business being this good at this age.
I mean, a lot of that, I think, I want to like.
Fuck, it's mellowed.
Games is done with the canning line, like the way that we package the product and the way that we cellar it is a big. When we first started doing hazies, that was one of our biggest issues was packaging it, and you still see it now. Like, if I pour a hazy and it comes out and you get like this like turd brown, or if there's any oxidation at all, I will immediately just be like, "Nah, I'll just push it into the." I want to fucking deal with this. Like, as soon as you pour it, you can immediately tell.
Right.
Yeah. Like, to be able to keep the aroma
Slow down on that.
It's good. For this long. It's a testament to like that cellaring and packaging that is so integral to this particular style of beer.
Yep. Agreed. And it was like, I feel like the original was like, I told you guys when I saw you, like, I feel like it was drinking well till like 6 months plus because it was so intense. And I think it was at the time your biggest dry hop ever. And maybe we went a little crazy. And because of that hop burn, it lasted so long. Check. I can't believe I still got. Look, it's like closed.
I got stickers, but
wow. Dude, that's so sweet.
It's so. And do you know what's even funnier? February 2nd, and it says "Get a dog up here." I forgot that you put that on there.
That date code is too perfectly centered.
It's so money. It's I think I was telling you guys as well. I had a friend in Australia who didn't like. She was making fun of me for craft beer, and then she got a boyfriend, now husband, who was into craft beer, who worked at a brewery. Now she's all drinking craft beer, and she had this, and she drank it at like 18 months, and they were both like, "Yeah, it's fucking good." 18-month-old New England, and they said it was good. That's once again testament to. This was like 5.5 years old now, so I mean, your packaging abilities obviously is superior now.
Shout out to fucking this guy. That's all this guy right here, man.
Jimbo. Look at him.
There's no other name to be said. Maybe Sully. Sprinkle some Sully.
It's mostly Sully.
But yeah, that's you, man.
This is so good, man. Like I said, it looks like all of us probably just let it sit for a bit. I had one obviously as soon as I got it, and
it's mellowed a lot.
It's mellowed a lot, and I feel like it's like this feels like it's like, all right, this is money.
No, I feel like it needed that time. I had one packaging day too. It was still enjoyable. It was a little hot, but now this is in a great spot right now.
Like, look at this Merc. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is like money to me. This is exactly what I'm looking for in a beer.
It's
like,
gorgeous.
Look at that fucking glass too.
Yeah,
look at that.
And what is
The
that? Is
Alchemist.
That
The Alchemist.
It's both of these glasses are from Hayes House from the Wheeled Brew in Barrie. So Evan from the Wheeled Brew has a side business doing these ridiculous glassware.
Those are so sick.
Cool.
They're super cool, man.
Evan's the fucking man. He was so smart to think to that. He commissioned a local glass blower in Barrie to come up with these dope glasses.
Yeah, he did a great job. And they're
perfect.
perfect.
When it did first come out, like I was like, there was a couple things, 2 things I wish I had done that were like stupid that I didn't. First of all, I wish we had mashed it a little hotter, like probably. I don't know why we didn't do it at the same temperature as juicing, which is like 68 and a half.
What did we do then? 65?
We did 67.
No,
We
67.
could have probably done 68, which would have left a little bit more residual sugar. And for whatever reason, we didn't use any, and this is like my fault, didn't use any dextrin malt, which again would have left a little bit more residual sugar. Which is what we do with all of them. And I'm like, I don't know why. I looked at it and I'm like, wow, that was fucking stupid. So it fermented a little lower than we wanted, which left a little bit more bitterness. So I'm like, fuck, I wish I had done that. I literally can't explain why I didn't do that. I think because we elevated the OG to 19 and a half, I was kind of like, we should probably hedge our bet so that we ferment it down. But it literally took, what was it, 2.5 days?
Yeah.
And it was at 3.5, and we're like, what the fuck? It just was done. We're like, oh, okay.
That's crazy.
Again, this was only the second time doing it, and as I was saying before, usually by time 3-4, we've edged off everything and we've got it fucking locked down. And that's just how it goes. I'm happy with this. These are the things I would have done to make myself more happy with it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you're saying there's going to be a third podcast? Is that the
get it in your 3.0?
Yeah.
Maybe we won't wait.
3.0. 2028.
If we keep it on schedule,
Yeah.
maybe even 2029. We'll see. No, this is spectacular. It's so much. And just so people know, the first beer was Galaxy, Vic Secret, and Ella, and we swapped Ella out for Eclipse, which was Sam's great idea because they're all Australian hops, and it was Eclipse was a little more tropical. I think Ella had a little more herbal vibes, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's sort of to try and remove a bit of that.
And again, if I did it again, I'd up the Galaxy and up the Eclipse and play less Vic Secret.
Okay.
I think Vic Secret has a bit of a sting, a little bit of a herbaceousness to it that the other two are more over here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would. Those are
you know
the
what?
things
That you would change? What if we, for version 3, we could even switch up all the Aussie hops and do completely different Aussie hops? Another combination. Raquel was New Zealand, no?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It is New Zealand. Sorry.
I got to double check what the Aussie hops are. I don't even know what the options are. We could take a look. We have Google. We have a Google machine. Australian hop varieties. Boom. Let's see. Galaxy, Vic Secret, Enigma, Eclipse, Topaz, Ella. That's on Yakima.
Enigma could be good.
Enigma could be pretty cool. Topaz is a good one.
New Zealand.
So those are the only 6 available from Yakima. Maybe there's others from different companies.
we got ours from Hops Connect.
Hops Connect. Okay. I'm trying to see if there's one called Helga. Oh no, that's lagers. No one needs that. Topaz. Topaz is kind of cool. Super Pride. Oh, like Pride of Ringwood. No, that's another lager one.
There's another one called something Cross.
Southern Cross.
Southern Cross.
So Southern Cross on the flag. This little thing here. It's what all the racists have tattooed on them.
Oh.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I didn't know that. Tell us that before we did it.
Right? Fucking hell. Southern Cross could be a good one. I feel like there's I feel like we need to bring Australian hops back. I feel like New Zealand hops, kind of what you guys were just saying, like New Zealand hops are just like next level, like they're taking over everything. What if we did
especially with freestyle right now? Like
freestyle is
it's
dominating.
Just,
What if there's a version of it that's New Zealand? So are you guys familiar? Like the New Zealand to me is the funniest accent on the planet. Like nothing is funnier to me than the way the Kiwis talk. Oh no, bro, that's Sue Choicey. Oh, cuz
What are you talking
me
about?
that? Yeah, what are you talking? They're so like I wonder if you could like gut it in your bro. Like I don't know, like you spell it different. I don't know if they say that, and then maybe use Kiwi hops because they're superior. Like I wonder if there's like a way to do it and put a twist on it.
Again, you know what? Go in a different direction. Like stay in the same world.
Bring it back to rap house.
You're in the same solar system.
Same
galaxy, moving into a different solar system.
Yeah, I feel like there's just like there'd be a way to make it twist to only because I feel like there's just more.
The same Earth. Just a different
was that an intentional hot pun there? Same galaxy.
Oh, that's what I was thinking as well. There'd probably be a nice way to.
I'll throw it in there.
Either way,
To come back to the beer for a second, like what I'm like, something that I'm really tasting at the point that it's at right now. I'm getting like a ton of like super pithy orange juice is what I'm getting.
It's like pure tangerine. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a blood orange. Like there's the bitterness that makes it like a blood orange tangerine.
Yeah.
A little bit of grapefruit. Like it's fucking
That's what it is. I was thinking it was passion fruit, but you're right. It's blood. It's like orange meets grapefruit or tangerine meets grapefruit because there's that little touch of like that hot burny thing in the background, but it's super mellow right now. Like it's still very present. But it's not. I like to be honest. That hot burn is what's keeping this thing alive. Like I really feel like any beer that I've had that has a
juice.
As brewers, would you guys agree with this? That I think that any beer that New England IPA that has hop burn or at least a reasonable amount ends up lasting longer because that hop burn seems to like. Takes a while to mellow, so it doesn't become that malty, sticky mess that sometimes New England IPAs can become. Is that accurate?
Well, I
can't argue with this. Yeah, like I feel like this beer can be a testament to it. Yeah.
One of the things you have, again, one of the problems when you have like a schedule to keep up, like you're like, we pick a release date for a beer like literally months in advance, and then we build everything to that release date. And then sometimes you're like, fuck, I wish I could just leave this beer in the tank for like another week because it would be better. But then you have this looming, I got to get it out by this date because we told all these people that we're going to release it on this date. And I wish sometimes we didn't have that because I wish we could have been like, okay, well, let's pull the hops off. We'll give it a week just in tank and then we'll push it out. But we've already had this schedule that we're like have to fucking listen to, and so I wish we could like because then basically you can eliminate a lot of that can time where this mellows. It'll mellow in tank and then you release it and then it's
so it mellows quicker in tank than in can.
Well, it's just what's the point of packaging it if you don't have to yet?
Gotcha.
Yeah,
and then you don't have to go through that. Oh, it's a little burny. You're like, nah, fuck. Just let it sit in the tank a little bit longer. It'll be fine. But we got to fucking stick to the schedule.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That would obviously be the best case scenario to be able to kind of have that flexibility. Do you know what? One thing.
Then we have like, so we do make changes now and again, but it's always like it kind of like shifts everything up because we've told these people in the beer club like, oh, you're gonna get this beer on this month, and you're gonna get on this date, and you have this thing that you've set, and we try our best to like stick to that. Sometimes there's things out of our control that change, but it's all a balance, and eventually, like, the beer will get to where you want it, but I just wish we could do sometimes that. But I also like structure, so I'm happy with schedules. So.
I reckon there's something cool about a beer changing over time too. Like you get yourself, someone buys a 4-pack or whatever, and they'll have one fresh, and I'm like, okay, and then have it at a week, have it at 2 weeks, have it at 3. You know, I feel like that's kind of fun to see how a beer changes, and I don't know, maybe that's part of the thing because they get to see it. Like maybe it's a little hot, like you said, Brendan, at the beginning, and then as you're kind of going, it's gonna like mellow out. Like I said, I had it. It probably was week 1 or 2.
Yeah,
and I brought some with me to when I went on the New England trip, but I ended up giving it to people because I kind of felt like, I'm seeing someone. I felt like I should give it to somebody rather than drink because I want to drink it and take some photos. I was like, I should give it to somebody. So I just didn't get around to having another one, and this has changed significantly, and I feel like it's drinking like it's just I feel like it's juicier right now, and like we were saying, softer, and I think it's still got a ways to go. Too. A lot drier for sure.
It's a lot drier for sure. This is my 6th can of this at this point. The first one that I had was at about a week and a half from canning, and it was definitely there was a lot more residual sweetness in that one. It had a lot more of a caramelized kind of thing going on to it. It's so dry right now, and it's tasting really, really nice.
Interesting. Okay, so obviously you're the expert here, Nate, because you've had the most. But I feel like there's also a relative amount of a decent amount of heartburn in this. That, as I like heartburn, so like smash me with that shit. But I think it also means that this beer could still it's gonna evolve for the next month or 2 at least. And we talk about this on here a bunch. I'm like an age princess with beer. I like haze within 1 to 2 weeks mostly. I find that most haze doesn't get better with time, obviously. But I feel like this beer is like it's kind of something special. Like I feel like it's
very much an outlier.
Yeah, super outlier, and I'm like, I'm excited. I got some more cans because I'm going to be like, sweet. I'll have this in another week, and then another week after that, and it's going to keep changing. I think that's sick.
I can't believe how much dank and stinky is still on it.
The aroma is insane.
It's insane. It's so juicy.
It's wild.
I think that this is and I guess this is kind of what I was holding off talking about the whole pod. I know we're at 3 hours already, but we out here. The IPAs, the way that you guys have gone from the original juicing in 2016 and then doing all the IPAs to then getting to Everyday Magic and Binary System throughout the pandemic when that stuff dropped. Those 2 beers were just so exceptional. I can't express how fucking good those 2 beers are. And then I was so excited for this. I would have been excited. Doesn't even matter because the first one was already fire. But it was like there's something that you guys have done that's just whatever the hell you did to crack the code on haze that you did with crispies as well, that you did with the barrel age and you did with stouts. Like it's so dope and it's so unique and like. I don't know. I was super excited because I knew however this comes out, this is going to be. Obviously, it's 5 years' time. That's a long time. Like, it's going to be better than the first one. And I think this is, like, way better than the first one because you've refined the process. You understand the whole... But it still has something reminiscent of it because it's still fucking hectic as shit. And I kind of feel like that's the theme of this beer. It needs to be hectic as shit or it's not get it in you. Like, it has to be wild. I don't know if you guys could speak.
Remember, like, it's Chokis. You gotta get it.
Yeah. Fucking Choki.
Like, those are the things, like, your passion and screaming at the TV and saying all these things. Like, that's what brought us to you in the first place. And we're like, man, this guy's awesome. Like, so we always wanted to be like a part of that and feed that passion and hopefully like live up to it. So like that's where it came from. So it's honest in that way, and we're happy that it sticks with that same motif and sticks to there. And as much as like I'm always going to be very hypercritical on something until like it's where I want it to be, but like I said, those are the three things at the beginning what I would change. But like I'm happy with this now. Like I'm like, fuck, this is drinking pretty sweet. I'm really this is the only one I finished, and it was the biggest one.
Yeah.
It bodes well for tomorrow.
This is I mean, I was excited for this one. I drank a little more than I probably should have to be able to drink this in full, but I'm drinking this whole fucking thing.
Oh yeah.
Like could you guys even speak to just the changes in your IPAs over the last few years and maybe like you know what I'm talking about. I'm not Nate, you know what I'm saying, like to reiterate, like I'm not boosting about how good Everyday Magic and the Binary System beers are. Like what the fuck happened? Like it's just crazy.
Listening and paying attention to other people, like because we did collabs, because we drank other people's beers, because we cared that we wanted to make it better. We went and did a collab at Dominion City, which I thought was like, to me, was the most eye-opening, like listening and working with them. It was awesome. And then, you know, drinking, like, those are like, they're learning experiences. And taking that back going, okay, fuck. Like, at the beginning, like I said, I didn't personally get it. Like, I didn't understand them. To me, it was just, like, to me, it was a West Coast IPA, just dirty, but I didn't understand. Like, James and Caleb were already over here, and I was still like the caveman, like scratching a fucking post trying to make fire. So then to go there and be like, oh fuck, this is like. It was very eye opening, and then they came. We did a collab, and we did a beer called Numerals, which really.
Yes, that was great.
That was a wild beer. Oh my god, that one that one was hectic.
And I got it like it was Scott, and it was also like just working with other breweries and being like, oh okay, fuck, shit, I get it now. Like that's it. Like just you got to continue to grow. You gotta get better at what you do. Like this is our craft. So we have to be good at it. Like if we want people to buy our shit, we better be good at it. So do all the things you can do to make yourself better, so that when people do come to your place and they expect a certain level of, you know, product, that we were able to give it to them.
Right.
I like that your approach to to beers like that is to not kind of like wade into it and do like a very subtle version. It's like, no, let's just go like full balls to the wall, like right from the get-go.
Well, like I said, when we did our 52 thing, like let's see how far we can take it, and if that if it gets that far, then dial it back to a normal thing. Like you have to.
I think that's more fun. That's a lot more fun.
Definitely, and it also shows, like, the extreme shows you, like, that, well, that was stupid. Okay, well, let's go back here.
Yeah.
But, again, growing up, the way we made beer, like, it was called extreme brewing. It was all about extreme. It was all about throwing, like, whatever the fuck at it. And that was the headspace we were in when we started. Like, everything was extreme! Extreme! Remember that? Remember like fucking X Games and everything was like extreme, like
that Boston Extreme Beer Festival.
So like that was literally that was our playground, and then now it's like, oh, to me it's like, oh, let's make subtle and nuanced, but like also do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I just think it's really cool that you've been able to like nail so many styles in so many different ways. And I feel like the reason I'm bringing up the haze so much and that we waited to this segment to talk about it was just like, I don't know if everybody gets there. I feel like some breweries get there with haze, and like, I don't know, Nate, if you could like understand what I'm saying to echo it, but like, if you're able to nail it, it's like, it's a special thing. Like, everybody does haze, but not everybody is exceptional at it. You could say that for almost every style, probably.
Jimbo, what was the brewery we went to in Quebec when we went? We were in QC for the CBAs, and they had that canning line. They had that catnip.
Oh, that's Noctem.
Noctem, yeah.
Fuck, those beers were good.
Yeah, Noctem's killer.
Cans are sick. Their cans are all cats.
Yeah.
All
with, like,
cats.
the laser eyes and
The
shit.
beer is just unreal. Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
I think we
Noctem is
all
great.
Sam.
He'll be back. He'll sort it out. Sam's a genius. Yeah, Noctem are fucking killer, man. Noctem do some fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
They do West Coast as well, like nano and like big double IPAs and shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
They just did Link Up as well, the same series as you guys did, and their beer was a nice nano one. And yeah, man, Noctem are fantastic. Good dudes. Good, really, really solid shit, man.
Well, you were asking me if I went to the CBAs when I took Laurel to Quebec. I took her as a date and we went to the CBAs there because that's when I was with Stack, and she sees these cans with the cats on them, and she's just like, "Fuck, we gotta buy those.
Yeah.
Those are the cans." And I'm like, "Fuck, okay, those look pretty sweet. If I can try them." I'm like,
Yeah.
"These are fucking throttle. Like these
Yeah.
are fucking
Yeah.
good, man. Like what the fuck are these? You know? Like and
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, they're okay." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. Like, you just fell for the branding." But yeah, these fucking beers are sick.
They
Yeah,
were so nice too.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys meet Brian?
I don't remember.
Dude with the long
even-
hair?
Sam would remember. We
Yeah.
we were looking at new canning lines, and they had one that we were thinking about getting. So we like reached out and we're like, "Hey, could we come by?" And yeah, they let us wander about, and they gave us a bunch of beer.
That's
Nice.
dope.
It was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you remember who you met at Noctem, Sam?
Christ, no.
Was it
Like,
Brian?
It was one of the owners. Like they were super hospitable. They were great, and man, that fucking catnip was so good. And they gave us one that had like they were using a Hydra yeast, and I remember like this is just it was so good.
They So in the same series as that, they just did Link Up.
Oh, they went in on that. Oh shit,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they did a Nano Hydra IPA.
that's a sweet looking can.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Like,
I like those colors. Can we fuck with purple?
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, Noctem are great, man.
Kitties are this.
Mhm.
We gotta get your cat back on
We
the
had
can.
one. We had one.
Yeah, bring that shit back.
Years ago, the first time we did a collab with Alafu, which was like I can't remember, like I don't know, let's say it was 2017, and our like going through Quebec, like our experience with Quebec IPAs was like there just wasn't any. It was it
Yeah.
was the land of
It
Belgians,
wasn't.
and,
There was nothing.
and then it just went like we
Just
got back to it,
exploded.
like, holy fuck!
From 2018, since Masorum opened, everything went wild. Previous to Masorum opening in July 2018, it like ate shit and it sucked, and I was always bitching about it on the pod. I was like, fuck.
I mean, aside from Back Canada predated Visora.
Good point. But it was more the volume to me, where it was like you had.
Yeah.
But to me, Bar Canada was so impossible to get. It
It's
wasn't
true,
even.
yeah.
It wasn't even worth talking about. It was that hard to get.
Yeah.
Then you talk about like Nordette from Orval or something, like it was impossible. Quebec, New England, and they had like a big like kind of a pushback, I guess, because Quebec was known for so many other things, anything barrel aged, the sours and the stouts and blah blah blah, like all that, and the Belgians. So like they were very resistant, and it took Masorum coming out with that. Then Brewski got their system and they started killing it, and obviously Bar Canada were doing their thing, but like only local up in Gatineau, so there wasn't many like deliveries to Montreal. so on and so forth. So it took a little bit, and then all of a sudden Quebec went like nuts, and they started, dominating. It was phenomenal out there, and it still is now. We were just there a month ago, I guess, and it was killing it. It was great. I was very impressed with everywhere that I went there. It was exceptional. So it just took a little bit of time. And Quebec City, like you mentioned, Noctem's killing it. BG, Brasserie Generale, killing it. Emporium. Fucking La Barberie.
Yep.
Like, yeah, Grendel doing some good stuff.
Like Nano Cinco these days.
Say that again, Sam?
I was just saying, like Quebec City, like every time I go back, there's just so many like great breweries. It's a wonderful scene. Like,
oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff happening out there that's like, and it made me happy because I'm not from either place. So I was there and I was like, why aren't everybody fucking collaborating? So it was really cool that you guys already work with Alafut. Like I said, you guys kind of put me on to Alafut, and like, more and more, I guess I'm seeing more and more collabs with Ontario and Quebec breweries. It's cool. There's so many like people ask me all the time about like where to go in Montreal, and I've got this whole note in my phone of like brunch spots, cafes, restaurants, fucking breweries, like beer bars, like everything. I just like copy and paste, and like I should start charging for that shit, like to give everybody where to go, because people go so often from out here and always want to visit because it's a great time. And it was cool to go back to Montreal as a tourist and not somebody living there. I'm like, oh, this city's fire. Weird fuck to live in, but god damn it, it's fun to visit. Like, so much stuff going on. Like all the breweries we hung out at, like Boreal got their new spot on Jean Talon, that whole area now, Little Italy. Yeah, Quebec is doing some really good stuff with that. So it makes me happy just to see everybody collab and stuff, and just spread the gospel, because it's like, sometimes it's easy to just like only drink what's around you, which I think is important for sure, but we want to support, I guess, the country at large, and sometimes you need to be exposed to it. Some people, there's beer nerds who do all the research, and there's some people who don't, and maybe you need to put it in their face a little bit. And the best way to do that is potentially through collabs, which is cool that you guys are doing that, even through the lager series. Whether it's in your own province or beyond. It's fucking cool, man. I love it.
Fucking oath. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's the shit right there.
You guys got any cool shit coming up? Like you guys are working on as far as things you can talk about, like little series, collabs, different stuff.
We have, jeez, we got a bunch of stuff coming. We always got stuff coming out, but the collabs that we're working on right now, we got, like we said, we're going to Eastbound in a couple weeks, and then
love it.
We're off to work with Second Wedge on a collab. They just opened up their new spot after their
tornado
bullshit.
Crazy.
Shout out my buddy Mike.
Such nice people. Then off to Kingston for Daft, and then the next week we're going up north to Gateway City, which I'm so stoked about. They're awesome guys there too. We've worked with them
fucking back north.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a fucking dirty northern boy, so I'm gonna fit right in.
It's gonna be like the first time in North Bay, so it's gonna be good.
Yeah, ish.
Then we just got we got a couple new. We've been working a lot with the style yeast, trying to like get our hand on that, which is a bit difficult. But the last one, I'm like, I had one today. It's pretty. It tastes like passion fruit juice. It's like crazy. Like it's so. We did. Anyways, it's that'll be coming out next. What do we have coming out this week? We had something that came out this. Flop Doodle came out this week, which is
the British.
Yeah, which is always one of my favorite ones. But this next one called Shadows of the Afternoon, which is that collab that we did with YCH when we used some of the stuff, but we did the thiol yeast.
Good beer. Yeah.
That's a really good beer.
It made like the whole brewery smell.
Yeah,
like
that was a really good beer. Yeah.
There's so much aroma.
It's just that.
You gotta get your that one.
Like such American Pale Ale, and it's It's super crushable. Like, holy crap, man! It took me like 3 minutes. I had the whole pint. I was like, ooh, this is like ridiculous.
Be on the candy line.
Yeah.
Oh, where'd it go?
And then we got LDV coming back.
I'm stoked for that. That LDV is nice.
Me too, man.
That's fucking.
Yeah.
Oof.
LDV. Oh, Long Dark Voyage. Yes. Let's go.
Yes.
This is the first.
Yeah, that's good.
This is the first time since I think 2017, 2018 that's just straight LDV proper.
Oh, okay.
So
And
I'm pretty jacked about this. Like,
is there a
I
Cthulhu
had
coming
it
as well?
today. It's fucking so good. It's
Yes.
you know, like shit. It's another Quebec brewery.
Describe it. Me and Nate might be able to.
It's
He
got
has
like
a
a
beard.
purple can. It's got a purple can. They only there's no picture, but it's just letters on the can, and it's talking about like they have a red. Like every fucking Quebec brewery, they got a red. They got like an imperial stout, like the criminal is their imperial stout. It was so fucking good, and I remember thinking, man, I want to bring back LDV. Like no one does straight imperials anymore. Like it's got to be something else.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah, just like a straight up like imperial oatmeal stout kind of thing. You don't see that much anymore.
No.
It's got to have. It's
So
gotta be,
fucking
like,
good though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and like bring back the truth, like bring back the goods. So I'm excited for that to come back.
That's fun.
That's dope. Long Dark Voyage is it's sick. Yeah, I'd be amped for that.
Is there another Cthulhu coming?
Not this year, next year probably. I think we'll go back and forth between the two because we don't want to
Overdo it.
And like we want to foster some anticipation.
Yeah.
Like
I respect it.
That's it'll be back. It's never going away. Like we all love that fucking beer too. Like and making it's fun too. So.
Hell yeah, that beer is spectacular. I like that. I think that's a good way to go. There's some flagship stuff, and there's some sort of like on and off again that when it does come, there's genuine excitement for it. So you can people are going to be moved to buy. I like that. I think that's like a really good way to offer, and then people will complain until it drops. You're like, give me a case of this shit.
Yeah.
Which is fire. I love it. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we wrap up? We're coming up on 3.5 hours, which I love it.
I got enough. I'm good.
You're good, Jimbo, Brendo.
Yeah, I think I'm all good. That was fucking
Just good to do this again.
Yeah, good to crush some pints with you lads.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah! I knew this was going to be fire because you guys are just the best. What we're going to do? We're going to take a screenshot of the of everything here. Do you guys want to hold up some cans?
Yeah.
I'm going to be selfish and just hold up, get it in you.
Barely hold myself up.
Thank God you don't have to drive home. Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, it's my house. He's got
Exactly.
to drive home.
I got
Jimbo, that couch is looking good for Jimbo. All right, you ready?
Yeah. Feels good.
Fucking beaut. Stick around at the end of the call. We'll say goodbye off air. But boys, this was spectacular as expected.
Yeah, this was a real pleasure to hang with you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to do it.
Like that, man.
I had a great time too.
It's COVID all over again. I love it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this makes it a little easy to do all these things. I always find that the in-person ones, whilst they're a little easier to do sometimes, they're like, interferes with people's day and like blah, blah, blah. But like,
there's a lot of
I
scheduling.
fucking love
And,
this. Like, this is super sick.
no, we need to do this like every year. And like, once again, I can't express how much I love you guys and like I love everything Sawdust stands for. And this really holds a real special place. Like I gush about you guys to people all the time. And I think what you're doing is really special. You guys have a ton of passion. The beers are spectacular, truly. And I just like, you're introducing people to really high quality beer via the methods that you're doing, LCBO and all the gateway stuff, which is underrated. But it's such high quality. It's like showing people like this is what craft beer is, man. Like, come check this out. Then come up here and visit this, and then explore the breweries that we're collaborating with. It's just like organic and real, and there's some love in that shit. And I think it's really meaningful and important what you guys are doing. So just much success. Keep killing it. Get it in your 2.0, still available. Get that fucking shit. 3.0. Yeah. Next year, maybe. We'll see. Maybe 5 years. Who knows?
You know it's coming. Yeah. You know it's fucking coming.
If I can just add in as well, like we said at the top of the podcast, like Cee and I really, like, when we started into craft beer, we were drinking Sawdust City, and with the importance of like what you guys provide on the gateway side of the scene, people getting into craft beer now could still be getting their start on Sawdust City, and there's something so cool about that to us. Like you guys really do an invaluable service to the scene, and this is my first time getting to hang with you guys, and it's been a genuine pleasure, and I can't appreciate enough what you guys do.
Thanks, man. Next time,
that's wow. Shit.
We're in person next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Next collab, we'll bring everybody up. I didn't want to bother everybody for this one. I know it was sort of midweek and whatever, but we'll make sure everybody comes up and get that. I know, Nate, you've been there before, but we need to go and hang. It's just such a good time. The collab days are like super fun. You're just really drinking and eating. Like, hey, take some video of me pouring in hops. Hey, like, Brendan's doing all the work. Jimbo's fucking doing something else. Sam's just running around.
If you watch that video, you don't see me at all. It looks like you do all the fucking work.
That was your guy. That wasn't my. I don't know why he put me on that.
You see Sam show up with a smile.
I didn't do shit except like, oh, should I pour this back in? Okay. Even Brendan cut it open for me.
It's a fucking sick fucking video, though.
Yeah, it came out great. Check that out on the Sawdust City Instagram. It's
awesome.
Really fun video. But guys, thank you so much again. This has been awesome. Where can everybody find Sawdust City online, social media, all that stuff?
We got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SawdustCityBeer.com. Check it out. Love to hear from you, and then, but just pop by and show your face in person. Love to see that too. Just Gravenhurst, Ontario. Come inside. Right. It's that's the real thing.
That's it. Can people ask for a hug from Sam? They go, hey.
Oh, God.
Dude, they were asking for a mirror on Slack the other day. They were like, what should we draw on the sideboard? And I was like, put fucking Sam so everyone can get a picture with the brewmaster.
There you
Everybody
go.
wants a fucking hug from Sam.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to. Maybe you should start charging. It's a little revenue, a little side revenue.
Hugs are always free.
Hugs are free. Beer, not so much. Hugs are free.
Remember McDonald's? They used to have smiles are free. They used to be on all the McDonald's. Does anyone remember this? Am I too old for this?
I remember that.
That sounds familiar.
Okay, good. Well, hugs are free at Sawdust.
Hugs are free at Sawdust. Is that the episode name? Who knows? Let's see. But stick around. I'm going to wrap this up and we'll finish up off air. But gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging. Guys, thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up. Hit subscribe below. Hit that notification bell, Nathaniel.
Ding.
So you know when the new drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast. Check out the long form audio. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, fucking Deezer, you name it. Wherever you get your shit, go bump it. We out here. Throw us a 5-star rating, not for us, but for these beautiful gentlemen here who took their time hanging out, making incredible beer. The mustache alone should really do it for you, but that's my opinion. Guys, thank you. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Get it in, yeah.